104 from WZBZ Newton, 90.3 FM. There's a lot of things to talk about today. This is Sports Saturday up until the 3 o'clock hour. I'm Jake DiLorenzo, and I'm joined by a WZBZ Sports Hall of Famer, the illustrious, the wonderful, the great, and I still call him the director, Anthony Iotti. Anthony, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Jake. I was excited that you asked me to come on, even though I may be a has-been around here now, because I know that you and I, the teams we follow, there's a lot to. I don't know, man. It's not for me to decide.
Right, it's not for you. You know what? That's what a great individual says that. A great person in a certain area will say, it's not for me to decide. I'll let the other people do my judging. I'll perform, but I'll let other people judge. And you know who did that for 14 years in a New York Football Giants uniform? Who did it for 14 years?
Eli Manning.
Elisha Manning.
The
great Elisha Manning. And this is really something that you can definitively say, and I think the entire sports world will say it. He is on the Mount Rushmore of New York Giants football. He is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Jumping right into that. I think he is.
I'm just pointing.
Okay, yeah.
If you're saying,
I do want to get into that, but yeah, we'll.
Like, that's a no-brainer, though, when you think about it.
I'm with you.
I mean, who'd you say? Lawrence Taylor, Y.A. Tittle, Gifford, and Eli Manning.
Those are the four that come to me. You know, it's odd to me that of an organization that I think we associate so much with defense in general, not now, but just in general, it's very defense
Definitely
oriented,
not now.
very heavy-handed, as a certain head coach likes to say. Three of those four guys you put on that Mount Rushmore, offensive guys. Only LT being on the defensive side of the ball.
It's true.
Strange, but true.
When you look at the greater history of the sport itself and of that organization, yeah, it's those four. But Eli Manning was a starter for 210 straight football games. He wore Big Blue. He
is Big Blue.
He is Big Blue. He wore the colors better than anyone could have asked for. You could even say, he's not as great as LT was, but from an off-the-field standpoint, he wore it better.
Oh, absolutely. He wore it better. And will continue to after his playing career, something LT can't say.
Absolutely. LT, he had a great, thing on the Barstool podcast the other day, but that was, what else can you say? And he had that appearance in Waterboy, but other than that, you're not going to hear from LT ever, except if it's in a negative light. Eli Manning, though, has been a man who's held himself in the highest character for I don't even know how long. For 14 years, you can even count his days at Ole Miss. You can count his days about being in the shadow of Peyton Manning for his entire life. But he did win 2 Super Bowls. And he won them in tremendous fashion. And he's no longer starting for the New York Giants. I don't know. I can't say it.
There's going to be a lot of emotion in these next 2 hours.
No, I can't say
Let me put it that way.
And I really haven't had a chance to talk about it. The few people I see, I've been sick for the last week. I haven't been feeling that great. It's been killing me in my stomach. Chronic diseases are spilling out of me because of this.
Sound like Joe Beningo.
No, it's not even like Joe Beningo. It's Jake DiLorenzo. That's who it is. But it makes no sense, though. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. And obviously we know why this is happening.
Tell me why this is happening. Because I don't think anyone's on the same page in the Giants organization right now.
John Mara says whatever he says, and he's been one of the most disappointments of that organization. He's done nothing since his taking over of ownership in, 2005?
2005 is when his father passed, yeah.
When the great Wellington Mara passed away. What has he done? Yeah, he's got half of the Super Bowls, but let's be honest. He didn't do anything. What did he do?
I think we're gonna get on everybody here. We're gonna get on the owner.
We're
gonna get on the general manager. We're certainly gonna get on the head coach, and we're gonna get on some of Eli's teammates, or at least I am.
Oh my
gosh. We can start at the top. We can start with John Mara, and
cut the head of the snake.
Exactly
whatever that saying is.
Yeah, exactly. John Mara, as you said, took over in 2005 and inherited a franchise that has been associated with the Giant way and had been associated with doing things first class and treating everyone with respect. And for a while, he was able to just maintain the status quo because there weren't really, with the exception of 1 or 2, there weren't really any huge decisions to make.
Mm-hmm.
He came in, once he really took the reins as the owner, there was a head coach in place, a good head coach with experience. He wasn't going to move him. There was a quarterback in place, a number 1 overall pick, so you're not going to move him. What did he do? For a while, he really kind of had to sit back and do nothing. General manager change in 2007 which was very smooth because it was an internal hire in Jerry Reese. So that was, I guess, one big decision that had to be made by the owner.
Well,
but
was
even
he head of
that,
scouting before that, or VP?
yeah,
Something.
he started as a scout, and then he was, I believe,
Was Mark Ross the Jerry?
I
was
think
the
that's
Jerry
what he
Reese?
was. I
Is
think
that
that's what he was.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I'm not saying it's not a big decision, but it was not exactly an excruciating one.
No.
And until Tom Coughlin was pushed out after the 2015 season, what other big decisions did John Mara make?
right downhill. What, he open up his checkbook that Steve Tisch also has to sign off on? Didn't do anything else.
No.
Sign off on a checkbook.
So I think what we're realizing now is John Mara coasted by for years on this reputation that he was first class, that he handled things the right way. When, if you look back on it, there weren't that many challenges that I think he did a great job with. I can't say he did some spectacular job running this franchise.
He didn't do a thing. He didn't do one frickin' thing.
Which, to be fair,
No, that's a good thing.
Is good, yes.
If James Dolan did that, the Knicks
There
would
you
be
go.
in a, somewhat simple
yeah,
shape.
we do have to say that.
But it doesn't matter though. He earned when he does have to do something, he can do it the right way, and he did it the complete wrong way. And he came out and said what he said. Oh, I'm shocked about the reaction. What are you shocked from?
Come on.
You're full of crap.
Yeah.
You're full of excrement. It absolutely makes no sense.
If John Mara is truly shocked that Eli Manning said, "Don't play me for a half and then pull me," that's not how you play football. That's starting quarterback. You're in there to win a game. You're not in there to pad a consecutive game streak. Which, by the way, even if he did care about that, he's got no chance of catching Favre anyway. So the streak is irrelevant. I'm so tired of hearing about the streak.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Okay, he's second all time or second among quarterbacks.
Right? He technically beat Peyton.
He
right?
passed Peyton
He did.
again. And Eli doesn't care. And people like you and me who have followed this guy's career for 14 years, we already knew that. I didn't need to see him this week say he didn't want to play a half and come out. We know that. We know Eli. He is who he is. And to think that the owner of this team, who claims to love Eli like a son and being loyal to him, the fact that he didn't know that, I mean, come on. How naive are you, John Mara? Well, what are you doing?
You know what it shows? It shows that he was just a spoiled child growing up that inherited everything that he has.
And a Boston College alum, John Mara.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's perfect. He really did inherit everything.
Yeah.
We probably came to this school like one of the many spoiled children that go to this school. Hey, I love coming here. We wouldn't have met. You've been a friend of mine for the last 4 years. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to speak out on this radio platform without Boston College. I support this school 110%. But realistically, it's a preppy school full of, little goody two-shoes.
Yes.
Kids. It really is.
No argument for me.
Yeah,
no argument.
most of it. A
Yeah.
lot of people worked hard to get to where they are and, don't have the greatest backgrounds coming here. But then a lot of people, they've been fed with the silver spoon their entire lives.
And that's where you think John Mara
And he 100% falls in that category. This was the one time he really had to show are you Wellington's son? Do you stand up to that at all? Because the Tisches, they're just kind of a bankroll. They're not president.
The financial side of things.
Yeah, they're not in the president. Steve Tisch is making appearances in Entourage or whatever. Seinfeld. He's in a Seinfeld episode.
Steve Tisch is in a Seinfeld episode?
He is in the background of a Seinfeld episode
No.
at Monk's. Yes.
Which episode?
I had it the other day. I may have a picture of it on my phone.
D'Lo. Oh, why didn't you text me this? Me and Holly. You got to text me and Holly that one.
I mean,
find it later. We'll find it.
I will show you it, but I'm telling you, he's in the background.
That's unbelievable.
He's behind George Costanza.
That's
in Monk's
that's
coffee
phenomenal.
shop. And it's definitely Steve Tisch, or it's a guy who looks a lot like him. But anyway, yeah, he's just part of the checkbook. He's just part of the bank accounts. The Tisch family.
We don't expect, to put it a different way, we don't expect much of Steve Tisch in terms of handling a personnel
He doesn't have the
situation like
title.
this.
Yeah,
That's not his job.
No.
Really. John Mara is who we expect to come out and treat your franchise quarterback, treat one of your icons with more respect than this.
Unbelievable. Like he did it, and the fact that he said he acted as if he had no idea what was going on in the locker room. I mean, granted, I respect, how an owner should give the general manager his, room of work. General manager and ownership front office should give the coach their room of work. The locker room, that's the coach's atmosphere. That's his domain. He should be the only one handling it. Ben McAdoo hasn't handled it in one iota ever. He hasn't. He's done nothing. Last year they went 11-5, and I said, all right, you know what? The defense did great. Granted, that was because of personnel decisions. They spent $210 million to revamp their defense, and they did a good job. It worked. But when you looked at it from a coaching perspective last year, the offense didn't do absolutely anything.
Abysmal.
And that's what Ben McAdoo prides himself on, was his offense. But still, they won 11-5. They made the playoffs, and you thought, okay, maybe McAdoo, part of being a coach is everything. It's not just about, one domain, the area that you're strongest in. So I gave McAdoo the benefit of the doubt. This year, I give him no benefit of the doubt.
No.
He shouldn't be in the league anymore. I can't imagine him getting a job next year.
No.
And if he's not fired, something really, really, really freaking bad is going to happen.
He's going to be fired. Listen, let's stick. If we stick with the owner here, you stick with John Mara. As naive as he was about the Eli situation and as poorly as he handled it, there's no way he retains Ben McAdoo.
Well, John Mara, though, does not surprise. I don't expect anything from him. I don't
don't
expect anything good from him.
Well, here's the thing. John Mara, the one thing...
He threw out Tom Coughlin for zero reason, and then he opened up his checkbook.
I think there's one thing that's going to bother him to no end more than anything else. I don't think, as much as losing bothers him, or so he says, what's really going to bother him is in December, they've got 3 NFC East games all at home, and the Eagle fans are coming in and taking over the building. The Cowboy fans are coming in and taking over MetLife. The Redskin fans may be the same thing. They're going to get half-empty stadiums, and the half that's full, it's going to be the other team's fans, and you're going to have the fans with the bags on their heads. You're going to have fans with signs that say God knows what. There's billboards on Route 80 outside MetLife Stadium.
I wonder if you'll have any Eli Manning chance. I really
there will be. John Mara is going to be so embarrassed over the next month. Not just from this Eli. He should be already. Yeah. But they're going to be so embarrassed. They're a laughingstock, this team right now. And I'm probably borrowing some things from what I've heard Francesa say over the past week.
I mean, honestly, everything coming out of our mouths is what's been said for the last week in local New York radio.
Yeah, but it's just such a unbelievable. The embarrassment that he should feel that they've turned this franchise into a bigger laughingstock than just about anybody in the league other than Cleveland. Who's a bigger laughingstock than the Giants right now besides Cleveland?
No one. San Francisco, this is what you expected from them. Same with the Colts.
Yes. San Francisco, they have a respectable first-year head coach. They just made a trade for a quarterback. We'll see if it works out. They have a new GM. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. They're a rebuilding team. I don't care what their record is. And then they beat the Giants, and the Giants didn't play. They didn't show up to play, half the team. All right? So it's not them.
And that's what comes on McAdoo.
And, it's not. And for once, it's not even the Jets. As tough as, second half of the season or second half to date that the Jets have had, losing, 5 out of 6 or something like that after a pretty nice start, they're not a laughingstock. They're not. No. They may not be progressing towards the future quite yet, considering they don't have a quarterback.
The Jets had a great season.
The Jets they've overachieved, and they've stayed out of the bad publicity.
And they should be 8-3, really.
Well,
no, when you
8. Listen, there's a couple games they should have won, but not 8.
Game, the Falcons game, the Miami.
They weren't
game
beating the Pats. They weren't beating the Pats.
Hey,
they played well. Don't get me wrong. They played well.
What? That's all that matters in a team when you think of, from a Jet perspective. That's all you wanted. You don't care if they lost 13 games this year, as long as they were competitive in every single game.
And they've been competitive.
Because they didn't have the talent, so what more could you expect?
Right.
Even if the Giants were at this record, if they were at least competitive in every game,
we would feel differently.
It would be a lot more respectable.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning would have been benched.
I would agree.
Because he was benched.
My point is this. Whatever the record says, I think in a different scenario where, like you said, they were playing competitively and they were handling things, quote-unquote, first class, then maybe even with a bad record, I could see Mara retaining McAdoo. Mara's not retaining McAdoo when his franchise has been a laughingstock because he's going to need a scapegoat because he doesn't want this reflecting on him. Now, it already does reflect on him and his family and the ownership group,
3 years.
But he needs to somehow kick the blame off himself a little bit, and the obvious guy to go... There's 2 guys, but obviously McAdoo is going. Mm-hmm. Hopefully Reese too. We'll get into Reese. But I don't think there's any way Mara stands for this kind of embarrassment. It's not just about the record. It's about embarrassment.
It's shaky. It's cold. I don't know what to think of it. Because you and I, we're 22, 23 years old right now. And to me, Derek Jeter, one of the most respectable players, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great, top 7 Yankee of all time. And I say top 7 because there's so many freaking great Yankees ever. And from a talent perspective, Jeter really is only in the top, maybe not.
From talent, I don't know. You might not even be top 10.
Yeah, maybe not top 15 even. But Derek Jeter, growing up in our generation, was the idol of New York sports. He really was.
Easily.
But you know what? For me, I felt Eli Manning was closer to heart. And you know why? Because in 2004, we were what?
9 or 10?
9 or 10 years old. That's when I first really started to appreciate sports. I mean, we were what? No more than 6 years old when the Yankees won 4 out of 5 years. Or what was it? Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
4 out of 5.
We were no more than 6 years old. I didn't remember it too much. I remember them winning. I remember, my parents screaming, brothers screaming. I remember being at Yankee Stadium. The place almost fell down. I remember that feeling, but I didn't appreciate it as much because I was young. Eli Manning is the first great athlete I ever appreciated. Because Derek Jeter, from then until 2009, he was Derek Jeter. Yeah, he was a great baseball player. Yeah, but the Yankees didn't win anything.
Right.
They got A-Rod. Yeah, they had, how they didn't win those years made no sense. They had actually the biggest collapse in sports history, if anything. But Eli Manning, 2007, that was the first great sports moment I ever appreciated. And we were, 7th, 8th grade?
7th grade.
Yeah. First great sports moment I ever appreciated.
Yeah.
And who gave it? And who gave it? Eli Manning did.
Yeah.
All right? And for a play that a lot of people thought was luck, that play to David Tyree was the farthest thing from luck. It wasn't luck. It wasn't luck at all.
No.
Think about it. He avoided a sack off a great pass rush.
There's only one reason people say it's luck, and it's because it's a play he doesn't normally make. Because he's not mobile.
Yeah.
Just because he doesn't normally make that play doesn't mean he was lucky. That's not what it means.
But it wasn't even that. He avoids the sack, and yeah, he threw up a ball, and it looks like he just hucked it up. Was that a Hail Mary? No. He threw that ball into the only spot where there was one-on-one coverage. David Tyree versus an all-pro safety in Rodney Harrison. The only spot on the field where there was one-on-one coverage, and Eli Manning put it in the perfect spot. How is that luck? A Hail Mary throw-up is Aaron Rodgers last year against the Giants, where Eli Manning doesn't know how to look up with his neck.
Eli Apple?
Eli Apple. Or Eli Manning throwing it to Hakeem Nicks in another great Super Bowl run at Green Bay against Aaron Rodgers in 2012.
For the half, yep.
That's a Hail Mary throw-up luck throw. What Eli Manning did in that 2007 Super Bowl, maybe the greatest play in Super Bowl history, one of, that wasn't luck. It was a thrown into one-on-one coverage perfectly, and David Tyree made the play. That's a first great moment I ever appreciated in sports. First great one. And it's gone now. It's taken away from me.
They'll never take that away. They can't take that moment.
It's taken away.
They took that moment away from you. They'll never take that moment away from me.
Well, it makes me want to cry, though.
Oh, listen, I'm with you. I am. But listen, all right. If we go back to 2004, 2004 was the first year that I started following football. I really wasn't a football fan until I remember getting geared up for the draft when the Giants had the fourth pick that year.
That's when you started to appreciate. You were old enough to appreciate sports.
I think at the end of 2003, maybe a little, I was starting to get into football, but I didn't know anything about the game yet. I didn't really watch consistently. But before 2004, I remember being geared up for the draft. I didn't know anything about college football, who these quarterbacks were, but I knew they were going to take a new quarterback. I knew they had hired a new coach in Tom Coughlin, didn't know a thing about him. But 2004, I jumped on as a Giants fan right when Manning and Coughlin started. So for me, as someone who's watched almost every single Giants game for the past 13 years, and probably every game for the past 4 or 5 years, this will be the first time in my life that I'm watching a starting quarterback for the Giants other than Eli Manning, and it sounds like the same can be said for you. It's surreal.
No, right. I remember
I almost
Kurt Warner and Kerry Collins, but again, the same thing. Appreciate it.
Right. Okay, let's then from November 2004 on. I do remember his first start. I remember that game.
Yep.
I remember
him coming in. It was on the road.
I remember his comeback at the end of the year. They were, I believe, 0 and...
They won on a game-winning field goal kick. Yeah,
I think they were 0 and... Well, no, game-winning touchdown. I think they were 0 and 6 in Manning starts. So they were 5 and 4 when Coughlin pulls Kurt Warner, right?
Yeah.
And Manning comes in and loses, I think it's for 6 games. I think they're 5 and 10 in the last game of the year. I believe it was against Dallas at home, Giants Stadium, the old Giants Stadium.
I don't remember that, but yeah.
I remember this.
Continue.
You watch it on YouTube because I kind of relived it a year or two ago. And for his first career win, Eli Manning led a game-winning drive to beat the Cowboys, finish his rookie year with at least one win. Granted, he had an abysmal rookie year. Hey, so did his brother. So did a lot of guys. But he got that win.
Year too.
A sign of things. Didn't play a full year. A sign of things to come. I remember the end of that season, and we, like you said, we followed this guy so closely. His every move for 13, 14 years. It's just...
what did he do?
I don't know what to
first
say.
Full year of playing
11 and 5. They won the division.
All right, they got blown. They got shut out against the Panthers at the Meadowlands. But hey, his first full year, won 11 and 5 and won the NFC East. All right, what did he do in his fourth year? Won a Super Bowl. One of the greatest Super Bowl against the best arguably the best football team of all time.
Yeah.
That
If
Patriots
you can make a
team.
strong case. You can make a very strong case.
Arguably the best football team of all time was that 07 Patriots team. And Eli Manning beat them. The defense also beat them, but Eli Manning couldn't win the game without a throw, without those two plays.
Of course.
Killing the plaques. And now he's not starting anymore. And why isn't he starting? People, and I hate every single caller professional. I respect professionals because they worked hard to get to where they are, and that's a job, a lot of kids like you and I who are just sports fanatics would want to do. But I can't stand the opinion of every professional supporting the decision to bench Eli and backing it up with saying they haven't had a great season. I'm pointing the fingers at Eli. Are you kidding me? He's got no offensive line. He's not a mobile quarterback, nonetheless at 36 years old. Do you expect him to really be mobile? No.
That's
You paid him mobile? No.
That's what bothers me about the critics of Eli right now. It's that they're expecting him to be something that he's never been.
Yep.
He's never
And
been
that's
a
what
mobile
McAdoo.
quarterback.
McAdoo hates that he can't run out of a pocket.
It's clear that he does.
And McAdoo can't even run 10 yards without tripping and desiring a chicken wing. He really can't. McAdoo never played a down of football. He was benched in high school because he was a fat kid who can't lift anything. And he studied plays instead. That's what he did instead.
He's apparently not very well.
Yeah, not very well. I mean, kudos to him. He worked his way, became one of the youngest head coaches, nonetheless, of the New York Giants anyway. Inherited a great team. Went to a playoff his first year as head coach. Kudos, McAdoo. Now look what you did. That fat little kid who couldn't play it down in high school caught up to you. And in his hair, he looks like a jackass on the field with the slicked back, cartoonish mafioso look. Little mustache, gets him just for men to make that clean up. It's got the little gray in it.
The word is embarrassing.
And yet,
the word is
there's
embarrassing.
people who have come out to somewhat support the decision and back it up by saying Eli hasn't had a good year this year. He hasn't been good in the last 3 years. Are you kidding me? He had two of his top three statistically best seasons when they went 6-10 with Coughlin.
In Coughlin's last 2 years, yeah.
And McAdoo's still there. And you know why they didn't make the playoffs those years? Their defense was bottom 2.
It was atrocious. You had Marcus Kuhn as pretty much a starting defensive tackle. You had Uani Unga as your starting middle linebacker. Princeton Mukamara was your best cornerback. It was ridiculous. There was nobody on the roster.
JPP blew off his hand.
Yep. Yeah. That really killed them in the 2015 season. I mean, my God.
Yeah, that was it.
How many games in that season did they lose at the end of the year because they didn't have a pass rush? Remember that was the year they lost on game-winning drives? I agree. But that year, everything's different if JPP is in, and I think they win a couple more of those games. And who knows? Coughlin might still be here if they go 9-7 that year instead of 7-9.
And they got rid of him and then opened up the checkbook,
which is ass backwards. It doesn't make any sense.
And you see. And this is where you really can knock McAdoo, even with the 11-5 season. The offense went to complete nothing as soon as he took over as head coach and as soon as they got a defense. Maybe, because McAdoo he clearly couldn't handle the full responsibility of a locker room and both sides of the football. He couldn't handle it.
Apparently not.
Because he couldn't focus on offense, which was his strong point. And now, you got rid of Coughlin, who handled the locker room as well as anyone. All right, not maybe as well as Bill Belichick technically, but all right, you think of the second greatest coach to handle a locker room, it'd probably be Tom Coughlin. Yeah, he had his up and downs with Strahan and whoever other players back in those days, Shockey, whatever. But at the end of the day, Strahan came out and said, "There's no one better to listen to than Tom Coughlin."
Yeah,
no one.
No one commands more. Ben McAdoo doesn't command any respect.
He's a nobody.
And honestly, as ridiculous as it sounds, part of that is the way he looks. I think that matters.
Yeah,
he looks like a buffoon.
And what Tom Coughlin looks like the toughest son of a bitch in the world.
Tom Coughlin looks like a stand-up guy.
He looks
Ben
like
McAdoo. Again, I don't want to focus too much on the guy's looks, but I think there's something to be said for having a head coach commanding respect, and it's something he hasn't done whatsoever. Yeah. And it's just sickening to watch him in that not even press conference, that interview with the media on what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday, where he comes up and says, as if it's any other day, as if he's announcing that Kelvin Shepard has a concussion and he's not going to play.
He's back on the team.
Yeah, he's as if all the nonchalance in the world. Geno Smith is going to play Sunday, gives us the best chance to win. What are you talking about? What are you? Are you serious? I've designed a game plan with what game plan?
Where's the game plan for Eli Manning?
Where's the game plan for the last 11 games? Where was that game plan? Where was the game plan for the playoff game in Green Bay, where your defense kept you in the game for a half, played played phenomenal, especially the secondary.
Even well into the third quarter, they kept him in.
Played into the third quarter, and your offense couldn't do a thing. Where was the game plan then? Yeah. And now you're telling me you have a game plan tailored for Geno Smith that's going to go into Oakland and beat the Raiders? I don't even care if they win tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. For him to stand there and to so coldly just say, as if he's telling you the sky is blue, that Eli Manning's not starting on Sunday, have some respect. Show that you understand what Eli Manning means to the organization. Have some dignity. I mean, come on. You don't. Again, this is another line Francesa said, but that I completely agree with. If you're McAdoo, if you're Reese, you don't have a job without Eli Manning. Yeah. If Eli Manning doesn't have 2 of his best 3 statistical years, like you said, in the 2 years McAdoo was the Giants' offensive coordinator under Coughlin, McAdoo doesn't get the head coaching job.
That's the only reason why he got it is because the offense looked so freaking impressive, and it wasn't Beckham. Manning was throwing the ball to Beckham, and yeah, like he had his 2 best statistical seasons in that McAdoo offense. That's why you... And who endorsed McAdoo to be head coach if you had to get rid of Coughlin? Who did? Who's his number 1 fan?
Your quarterback.
Eli Manning was. And then you stab him in the back? Makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
It's sickening.
And Jerry Reese sits up there being the most inconsistent general manager in the sport for the last, what's he been, the GM for 10 years?
10 years.
Most inconsistent. Yeah, he's had his star picks. JPP, Odell, Landon Collins, trading to get him.
Yeah, but
even
what
John
do you...
Hankins,
But what do you notice about all those picks? They're all first 2-round picks.
Yeah.
He's been very good, with the exception of Flowers and David Wilson, which was an injury situation, so that's a little different.
I mean, Pugh was a pretty good pick.
He's been great. He's been great in the first 2 rounds. But you know what? That's your job.
Simmons was not a good pick.
Okay, that was like 06.
Just saying.
Or that was a long time ago. In general, his first 2 rounds have been very good. Not many busts. Flowers, yes. Not many busts. But that's your job. You have to hit on the first
David
2 picks.
Wilson,
I'm not going to applaud... That's different. Injury. I'm not going to applaud a general manager for hitting on his first-round picks and his second-round picks.
No, especially when they were all as high as they were.
Especially when he never once made a proactive trade to move up and get someone, except for Landon Collins. He did it once, and that was second round. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Never moves around in the first round, never strategizes like that. I'm not going to applaud him for that. When if you look at his 3rd to 7th round picks for the last 6 years, they're atrocious.
Nobody.
They're not even in the league.
Yep.
In the last 8 years, I think they've drafted about 4 NFL caliber starters. JPP, Odell, Richburg, and Pugh. Who else? Hankins, 5. Okay. Who else? That's it.
I got no one.
Look back. I did this last week. Look back at their drafts. It's abysmal. It's unbelievable he still has a job. This guy's got 9 lives. How he survived a collapse season in 2009, a collapse in 2010, the Matt Dodge year with Deshaun Jackson. He survived that one. Okay. Then he wins the Super Bowl next year. Okay, you definitely bought yourself a couple years. Then he survives the Coughlin ouster. How do you let Tom Coughlin go? And then John Mara, who again, we're back on the owner, spends Coughlin's farewell press conference. The whole time he's criticizing Jerry Reese.
Yeah.
Quote, Jerry knows this is on him. Hey, if it's on Jerry, why is Tom the one leaving? Why?
Greatest moment was Tom Coughlin snubbing Jerry Reese when he walked down from
Mara,
the podium.
snubbed Mara.
Mara. Completely snubbed him. You knew Mara wanted a handshake there.
Yep. Again,
Coughlin gave him that little, go, goodbye.
You know what you can do with it, yeah. Listen, and that goes back to my point from earlier. For John Mara, it's about optics. John Mara wanted to have that handshake. He wanted it to be a good look, a peaceful transition. That's what he wanted.
Like a bird.
No, you know what I mean. He wanted it to look good, like Tom's resigning. We're not the bad guys here. We're not firing him. And you know what, to Coughlin's credit, he didn't give Mara the satisfaction of having that optic. And now, again, we're back to the optics. When there's billboards on Route 80 outside the stadium, when every fan is just outraged and is calling the radio stations and all the articles in the papers are ripping the organization, Mara hates those optics, and he's going to be embarrassed when the Eagles come in. If the Eagles have something to play for in 2 weeks, they're going to come in.
Game's going to be like 41
win
to
41-3.
41-9.
And you're going to have Eagle fans singing Fly, Eagles, Fly in MetLife Stadium.
Oh, yeah, and I hope...
You think John Mara's going to like that?
I root for it.
You think then he's going to regret what he's done here? Allowing
I hope he's pulling his hair out right now.
Jerry Reese and Ben McAdoo. You can't do a worse job than Ben McAdoo did this year. He's an inexperienced head coach who's in so far over his head, had no idea how to stop this free fall, can't get the players to play for him, commands no respect, produces a just a horrendous offense when that's supposed to be he's supposed to be some guru. Had to give
Hasn't scored 30
up
points.
the play calling. The play calling is still not great, but it got better without him.
Yeah.
So-called offensive.
They had a run game without him.
So-called great offensive mind. Come on.
Nope.
You can't do a worse job than he and Reese have done, and yet it sickens me that they get to finish the season and Eli Manning doesn't.
Hey, and you know what? The flip side, yeah, you kind of, from the perspective, from the hole they dug themselves, no, the trench, not the, I don't even know, the crater they dug themselves into, you can understand that you want to see Davis Webb play. You can understand that. Because if Davis Webb somehow has a great looking 4 games and shows a lot of promise and whatever, then, hey, here's an idea. Maybe you trade back and draft a lineman from Notre Dame and get a couple more picks. And that could be, that's a good draft then because you have your quarterback that you didn't have to expel the top pick on. You build that way.
Yeah.
So you can understand Webb playing. But you can understand Webb playing maybe the second half of games. Maybe you play Eli, hey, we're going to play you. We know maybe the game won't be that competitive. When it starts getting really out of hand, then we'll take you out. Maybe that means a little bit more to Eli, that they're still playing to win. Because what they told Eli was, we're playing, we want to start you just to keep that streak alive. We don't want you in the game to win the game.
Disgraceful.
That's what they're saying. We don't want you to play to win the game. We just want you to start for what? What are they going to start for, a quarter? Maybe even 10 minutes, 3 offensive drives.
It's awful.
And for people to say that Eli Manning doesn't have it anymore.
Oh, they're not watching. I'm telling you, the people who say it.
Yeah, he's made bad throws this year.
I don't want to hear about his stats, okay? Which, first of all, aren't even that bad, considering what he's working with. I don't want to hear about his stats.
He's got a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception rate.
I think he's one of those guys, and this is true in a lot of sports. He's one of those guys, in order to really appreciate him and to know what he's about and to understand his game, you have to watch him every week. Yep. Like you and I have done for the past 14 years. We watch the guy every week.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
You're not going to figure out Eli Manning in a box score. You're just not. And the people who are saying he's done, I'm telling you, if this guy goes to another organization, one that has some talent around him, they're going to see that he's not done. And I understand that he's not mobile. He's never been mobile, okay? And it's not going to change at age 36. No one should have expected it to. And I was pretty confident that this was going to be a problem, even if Beckham and Shepard and Marshall had stayed healthy because of the offensive line. You still knew he was going to be under constant duress. He's not a perfect player. It's not what I'm trying to say. He's not Rodgers or Brady who could make do with nothing around him. I believe Aaron Rodgers could make do with nothing around him if he had to.
Hey, who has more accomplishments than Aaron Rodgers?
Eli's always been a quarterback. You need something around him. That's not a knock on him. It's not a knock to say
he doesn't think he's the best.
But he needs an offensive line of receivers. Yeah, you think? Just because there's maybe two guys on the planet who are otherworldly in Rodgers and Brady.
Well, Brady still needs help.
Yeah, of course.
Brady but
just to play devil's advocate, just because there's two guys who can do it with nothing at receiver, it's not a knock on Eli to say he needs some help, okay? Because no one's trying to say that at age 36 he's got to play to the level that Aaron Rodgers is playing at age 30. He doesn't have to play at that level. If he could play at the level he played at the past couple of years, and the defense actually came to play every week and showed up and didn't quit on their head coach and quit on Spags, then I think this would be a good team right now. Yeah. It's not that Eli can't play, okay? Having nothing around him is not... He shouldn't be expected to make chicken salad out of that. Like, he just shouldn't, and it sickens me.
Yeah, Eli Manning, when you think about it, he didn't have a great year last year. He did not.
He didn't have his best year.
They went 11-5, and you know what? They lost games against... I remember the Pittsburgh game. Eli Manning, honestly, I thought he blew that game. At Pittsburgh, that game, I remember we were watching that game. It was a Sunday night game or Monday night game or Thursday night game. Could have even been a Saturday night game. I don't remember the day of the week it was, but they were playing Pittsburgh. Eli Manning, I think, had 3 or 4 picks in that game. He had some really bad picks in that game, too.
Oh, yeah, it was an ugly one.
But Eli Manning's been doing that his entire career, and he still has 2 Super Bowls out of it.
Right.
You don't expect him to be a regular season wower. You expect him to throw, 25 to 35 touchdowns, maybe.
You
You expect him to
35.
throw.
I don't think he ever hit 35.
I think the years when they went 6-10 with McAdoo, he hit 35 one year.
It's not important.
Hey, he
it's
threw
not the point.
Threw 6 in one game against the Saints.
All right, that's not the point.
Yeah, it's
Continue.
Not, exactly. It's not. I'm saying, all right, you expect him to throw at least 25 touchdowns a year. You expect him to throw 14 to 20 interceptions a year too.
Oh yeah.
You expect that. Although a lot of them are not his fault.
Again, he's not a perfect
Yeah,
player.
exactly. You expect him to throw for 4,200 yards a year, in a 63 completion percentage, whatever those stats are. But when you get him into January football, that's when you can push on Eli, put the pressure on him, and rely on him to do something. And last year, didn't have a great statistical season. You didn't need him, though. You had a defense who was top 3 in football. But what happened on that Sunday in January at Lambeau Field?
Showed up.
Only player to show up. The only one. Maybe Snacks showed up in that game, too. Because I know Vernon didn't show up in that game. He's getting paid $85 million to make criticisms telling the fans not to come to the stadium anymore because he sits down on a water cooler during the national anthem. He gets nothing. Vernon's been such a disappointment in my mind. You agreed also, but he cannot... he's great against the run, but you expect him to pass.
Yeah, how many run-stopping defensive ends do you need? All right, JPP stops the run. Even Kerry Wynn, who can't rush the passer at all, even he stops the run. You didn't need Vernon to do that.
Yeah,
you needed Vernon to rush the passer.
Yeah, and you expected him to. You thought he would. He was on an underperforming Miami Dolphin team forever. He'd get 9 sacks. I think he got 10. He didn't get 10 sacks, actually. I think 9 was the most he ever got in a season with the Dolphins. But you expected him to grow into his full potential. He was only 25 when he signed the contract. Didn't even get 10 sacks last year, I don't think. Maybe he got 10. Maybe.
Coaching staff hasn't developed him, I guess.
No. And how many times did we watch games last season where the quarterback for the team has all day to throw the ball?
Almost every week.
And Vernon's on one-on-one. He's not even getting double-teamed.
Listen, it has not been a good signing.
The playoff game, who's the left tackle for the Packers? Bacatelli? I don't know. Bulaga? I don't know his name. Barenthal, whatever. He was perfect, too. I don't know. Whatever his name is.
Bakhtiari?
Yeah. Something like that. One-on-one with Vernon the entire game. Vernon didn't get 1 sack in that game. You have Snacks, though, getting 2 guards and a center on him, and he's still able to put pressure. And he's not even supposed to be in on third downs. Not one player, beside maybe Landon Collins, showed up. Even JPP this year did nothing.
No, he's done nothing. JPP has gotten by.
He's made his plays, but he's done nothing.
JPP has gotten by for so long on just beating up on bad right tackles, not even left tackles.
Yeah.
He had last year he had 8 sacks, right? 8 or 8.5. 5 of them came against the Bears and the Browns, who were 2 of the worst teams in the league last year. And this year, he had 3 against the backup right tackle in Denver, right? Yep. 3 sacks in that game. And he had a couple against Washington last week, which also was a banged-up offensive line. The guy doesn't...
That whole team is decimated.
Any tackle worth his salt, JPP has done nothing against him.
Nothing.
When's the last time you saw JPP beat a Tyron Smith, a Trent Williams, a Jason Peters, one of the great tackles in the NFC East? It doesn't happen. He's gotten by for so long on that.
Yeah, since what? The Super Bowl season in 2012, he hasn't had a great season.
No, not really.
Because that was the year where he finished like 3rd or 4th in Defensive Player of the Year.
He was great. He was great
amazing.
That year. Great. Just
amazing.
Tremendous. And again, it's another example of Jerry Reese not exactly identifying what needs to be done.
And you know what also was disappointing about JPP? The fact that Jonathan Casillas came into that organization to become the defensive captain when JPP was there for, 6 seasons before that?
Yep.
He's the second longest tenured Giant beside Eli and Zach DiOssi, and he's not named a captain? That proves what he does. What does he do in the locker room then?
I'll tell you what he does.
Even after blowing off his hand, the fact that he came back and worked hard the way he did still didn't prove enough to the coaching staff he should have been the defensive captain.
Well, back to the Eli thing, did you see...
Nope, not one comment from him.
No,
his voice in the background.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did you see... Yeah, you saw you can see in the video, he's like yucking it up and laughing. He's right next to Eli's locker.
Videos on Twitter or whatever of him embarrassing his left tackle.
Roasting Eric Flowers,
the team's left tackle.
Yeah. But, let's get on him a little bit, too. Have some respect. The quarterback who got you a Super Bowl, who's been the unquestioned leader of your team and has done everything right off the field and has probably taken you under his wing when you stupidly blew off half your hand.
Eli supported him.
Of course Eli supported him. That's what he does because he's that kind of teammate. And for you to stand next to his locker when Eli's pretty much holding back tears and to be, yucking it up, like I said, about God knows what, be quiet. Have some respect. Again, the words I keep coming back to, embarrassment for the franchise and just a lack of respect that was shown for this quarterback. From Mara to Reese to McAdoo to Jason Pierre-Paul.
Not one player in that locker room tweeted anything thanking Eli.
Except there's one guy who did, and it's not the guy it should have been. You know who it was?
Who?
Brandon Marshall, who played 4 games with Eli Manning.
Because Brandon Marshall came into that organization thinking, this is what I'm talking about. This is where I want to be.
This is a quarterback.
He never had that before.
No, he never
He
had
had Miami. He had Jay Cutler in Miami and Chicago.
Not a great quarterback.
Yeah,
Jay Cutler.
and Denver. Did
Right.
he have Jay Cutler on all 3 teams?
He had Jay Cutler.
Or did he
At
not
least-
have him on Miami?
Not on Miami, I don't think.
But he had him on 2 teams.
Yeah.
And now he comes into, then he was on the Jets, and he had the one great year. Then he had the debacle season. He just moves over to the other side of the stadium and goes, all right, this is what I'm talking about. This is the organization. The stand-up, maybe the stand-up organization in all football beside the Steelers or something like that. A class organization, class quarterback, finally a Hall of Famer throwing me the football. And what happened?
Because he understands the game. He's been around.
Yeah,
he
long
gets
time.
it. He gets the appreciation for a quarterback and what it means to a team because he's seen what happens when you don't have one or when you have a sultry,
a quarterback who doesn't care.
Yeah, inconsistent, sultry quarterback who maybe doesn't care quite as much because that's what he's dealt with in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So for him to be the only guy to show any sort of support is also disgusting.
Yep.
Now, you have every former Giant who is lauding him and just an outpouring of support for Eli on social media, on the radio, everywhere.
Antrell Roll played only 4 seasons with the Giants, and he had a huge, really nice, well-done speech supporting Eli Manning and how embarrassing it was that he got benched.
Carl Banks, did you hear Carl Banks
Carl
on
Banks
this week
was,
with Joe and Evan? Carl Banks was as fired up and heartbroken as anybody
and
about
the fact
this.
That
Never played with the guy.
And then Snacks, who I love, had the audacity to say something back to Carl.
Yeah.
Saying you don't know anything. You're not in the locker room teaching anyone. Why should he? He's a broadcaster.
Yeah.
Why should he be the one in the locker room supporting the players? It should be you, if anything, Snacks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you saw it. David Deal, Sean O'Hara, O.C. Umenyiora, Brandon Jacobs. All these guys were showing their support, and no one in the current locker room is. And granted, I know that they don't want to disrespect Geno because, in fairness to Geno, with the Giants, he hasn't done anything wrong.
No,
he hasn't done anything wrong.
So you don't said anything.
So you don't want to act like the sky is this is the worst thing ever if you're on the team because that looks bad on Geno, who's still your teammate. But at the same time, you can still express some sort of respect here.
Yeah.
So
the speech at the locker room. You don't think anyone saw Eli Manning gain huddle around supporters? I mean, he was the tallest one of those reporters. See him gain emotional. You don't think, guys, hey, you know what? Let's shut up for a second. Let's let him have his moment.
Yeah.
No, we're going to laugh as if... And then there was players, I think it was Chris Canty, because I don't know what... Chris Canty's like, oh, you can't expect the locker room. That's what a locker room's like. No, it's not. You think if Brady was going through a situation like that, not every single player on the Patriots would keep his mouth shut? They absolutely would be.
Yeah.
Or do you think if Tom Coughlin... Say if Coughlin had to go through this decision or something like that because they need to see Davis Webb... Whatever, just, crazy, unrealistic scenario. Coughlin's in there. Guarantee you every guy in that locker room would have his mouth sewn shut if you had a respectable coach who knew anything about the word respect.
The coach doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
Moron.
How could he stand there and just show no emotion in announcing this? When you're standing there talking to the media, you're talking to the fans.
He's lucky his kids are too young to have other kids that, don't know Eli Manning. If his kids were our age or something like that, those kids wouldn't have any friends anymore.
When you're standing there, you're talking to the fans, and you have to understand what your franchise player means to the fans, okay? I'm so sick of McAdoo standing in these press conferences and acting cold as ice. He thinks he's Belichick up there. We're going to go back and look at the tape. We got to play heavy-handed. We're going to play heavy-handed football. We got to play complementary football, all 3 phases: offense, defense, special. You're not Bill Belichick, okay? You've done nothing. You can't get by on these buzzwords, say nothing in the press conferences, and show just an utter disrespect to reporters by not answering their questions and just looking at them blankly. They got a job to do. They got to ask questions of you moronic head coach, okay? So don't stand there and be cold and be just show no sense of the moment for the guy who is the New York Giants, okay? If he had come out, I disagree with the decision no matter what, but if he had come out and said, listen, this is very difficult, and actually looked like he meant it, this is very difficult, and given an actual homage or ode to Eli a little bit and talked about what Eli's done for the team, this would be a little different. Again, still don't agree with it.
It's about how they responded to it.
Yes.
That's what 100% is about. There's nothing wrong, and I even have to say this again, just like you said, I don't disagree. I will never agree with benching Eli Manning, no matter what the circumstances.
Right.
But in a completely lost season where you're going to have a top 3 pick, you're going to have a top 3 pick. You're not going to go to 4.
Probably not.
It'll be a top 3 pick, maybe top 2. You're going to have a top 3 pick where there are, these highly touted quarterback prospects in there. You have a rookie quarterback who's your 3rd-round pick nonetheless, so you could have something with him. There's nothing wrong with seeing what Davis Webb can do. I mean, hey, they did it to Kurt Warner, who was a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, that's different, though. Eli was the number 1 overall pick.
No. It's completely different. Eli Manning did it with that franchise, whatever. But seeing what you have in your 3rd-round quarterback when you're going to have a top 3 pick to draft another, top quarterback. Like, there's nothing wrong with seeing what you have. There's nothing wrong with that, and Eli would have completely understood that. But to do it in this fashion and to point fingers saying, we have a game plan for Geno. What? Why didn't you have a game plan for Eli then? Where's your game plan for Eli Manning? Was it not been working in McAdoo? Like, are you kidding me? Who's he throwing the ball to?
Our game plan for Eli Manning was, let's throw 10-yard outs to Evan Engram, who suddenly can't catch the ball. Let's abandon the run early in the second quarter, even if it's working. And let's have Eli stand behind Eric Flowers, Bobby Hart, Chad Wheeler, John Jerry, DJ Fluker, Brett Jones, John Halapio. I mean, just a cast of misfit toys. The island of misfit toys, that offensive line.
I think there's 2 names that someone from Texas would know. Like there's no... and
that was the game plan for Eli, apparently. And apparently he was supposed to do something with that. Now, What was he supposed to do? Beyond having a 2-to-1 TD to interception ratio? I don't know. I don't know what they expected out of him. Yeah. But clearly somehow what he's doing isn't enough for this team, and I don't get it.
And then criticize him for throwing the ball too quickly?
Terrible.
He's
terrible.
36
What do you want him to do?
36, 37 years old. I mean, he has every right to throw the ball as quickly as possible to not get hit. Peyton Manning did it. No one cared about that. Tom Brady does it all the time.
Again, it should not be viewed as a knock on a quarterback that, they can't survive with a bad offensive line. Yeah, obviously. Of course he can't survive with a bad offensive line for very long.
It's a 36-year-old who was never mobile.
The best quarterbacks can make do with it a little bit better. Because, again, Eli's not the best quarterback of all time. That's not what we're saying here. But he's still a very good enough quarterback that if you put the pieces around him, he will succeed. And I still believe that if he wants to continue playing, he will succeed. And you know what? I hope he does continue playing. It would break my heart to see him in another uniform. It really would. But you know what?
I'd buy that jersey.
But you know what? Despite that, I'll suck it up and I want to see it happen. I want to see the guy go succeed. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's like you said it to me the other day. You might be more of an Eli Manning fan than you are a Giant fan.
I really might be. Yeah.
We're about to test
There's
that.
no connection to one single player in that team beside Eli Manning.
No, it's all gone. It's done.
And honestly, I really think though, if they were smart, he'd still be the starting quarterback in 2018.
Yep.
Because he really should be.
I agree.
Even if Davis Webb looks good in the first 4 games, play Eli Manning for the last year of his contract still. Let Davis Webb learn as the second string quarterback.
Yes.
Gain reps in practice with at least the second string. Not with the practice team or whoever.
Scout team, yeah.
Yeah, the scout team that Webb has to do all season. If anything, that just helps him more. And then say if Webb doesn't look good at all and you draft, say, a Darnold or a Rosen or Allen, whoever quarter, because they will, if Webb doesn't look good, they're drafting the quarterback.
Yes. Even if he does look decent, they might.
Yeah, even if he does look decent, they might because they're the better prospect.
Right.
He still has to learn for a year. You're not going to throw that quarterback into the wildfire that is the Giants' offensive line right away. Think of how miserable of a season a rookie quarterback, no matter who that quarterback is going to have with the giant O-line that's going to look like that.
Totally agree. I totally agree.
And Odell might not even say who knows.
You're going to see. Well, you're going to see. You're going to see it the next 5 weeks. Listen, my plan all along once they kind of fell out of the race here, once they were like, 1-5, 0-5, 1-6, my plan was you stick with Eli because I believe he gives you the best chance to win in 2018.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you just completely forget about Davis Webb. Davis Webb, as soon as this team fell out of the running, should have been getting way, way more practice reps with the first team that he's been getting. Because now they're telling us, well, Davis isn't ready to play, hasn't practiced enough. That's why Gino's going to play. It's one reason Gino's going to play Sunday. Well, you've been out of it for months. Why the hell wasn't Davis Webb getting practice reps?
Exactly.
When
you knew you were going to be in that top pick.
Yes. Davis Webb, they should have had many more chances to look at him. That's on the head coach, because head coach runs practice, okay?
That's also on the GM, saying, hey, why don't you look at the guy I drafted in the third round?
It's mostly on the head coach,
Well,
but the GM could say something, too. Not that we expect that guy to. But that would have been step one, okay? You continue to throw Eli out there and see what he can do because, again, he's your leader. He gives you the best chance to win, and he gives you the best chance to win 2018 if they can bring in a competent general manager who will put the pieces around him.
And also in a lost season where getting fans in the stands is
not a guarantee.
Is a lost cause at this point.
Yeah.
If anything, those fans are going to come to see Eli Manning. Why would they come to see anyone else?
No one's coming to see Geno Smith.
So you don't care about making money the rest of the season either.
So what they should have done, part one of what I just said was Davis Webb more practice reps since they were 0-4, 0-5.
At least with the second team. At least.
I would even say with the first team, but yeah, at least with the second team. Then there's no reason for once Webb is getting those reps, there's no reason for Geno to be active on game day. You need to have Webb active so that when you're down 51-17 to the Rams, Davis Webb can come in the game because the game is over. When you're down 31-13 to the 49ers, Davis Webb can play the fourth quarter because that game is over. And it doesn't really matter if he's ready because it's the end of the game and you're already getting blown out. Okay? There was no benefit to having Geno as the number 2. This goes back to September. Once they were out of it in September. That's how bad this season started off. So my plan would have been that. Webb practice, Webb active, come in blowouts. Eli continues to start every game. And then at the end of the year, if you believe that Darnold or Rosen or Allen or Lamar Jackson, whoever, if you believe that they're a franchise caliber quarterback, you draft them. I don't care how good. I don't care how decent or good Webb looked in mop-up duty, because it's mop-up duty. It wouldn't have mattered. If you believe a franchise quarterback is there, you take him because it's the most valuable asset in football, and every team needs one. No one wins without a franchise quarterback. They don't. Look who wins every year. Yeah. Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. When Peyton was active, it was Peyton. Rodgers always runs through the NFC. Russell Wilson, who I believe is a great quarterback. I know you might disagree.
I do disagree.
But that's fine.
No, yeah,
he's in the upper echelon.
You need a quarterback. I mean, the only exception in the last however many years was Peyton Manning when the Broncos won it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Only exception.
Only exception. So I believe that they should draft one no matter what. Even if Webb, looking forward, plays...
It's all about if the front office thinks...
Even if Webb plays the last 4 games, all right, let's say Geno plays in Oakland, and then they start Webb, Dallas, Philly, Arizona, Washington in the last 4 games. Even if he looks great, I think I still draft a quarterback. Because you really don't know what Webb is. Even if he looks good, it's 4 games.
Yeah.
You really get to not draft a potential franchise quarterback over 4 games in December against an Arizona team that'll be out of it, against a Washington team that'll probably be out of it, against Philly that might be playing for nothing.
The only argument I could say is if he does team, at least.
I would even say with the first team, but yeah, at least with the second team. Then there's no reason for once Webb is getting those reps, there's no reason for Geno to be active on game day. You need to have Webb active so that when you're down 51-17 to the Rams, Davis Webb can come in the game because the game is over. When you're down 31-13 to the 49ers, Davis Webb can play the fourth quarter because that game is over. And it doesn't really matter if he's ready because it's the end of the game and you're already getting blown out. Okay? There was no benefit to having Geno as the number 2. This goes back to September. Once they were out of it in September. That's how bad this season started off. So my plan would have been that. Webb practice, Webb active, come in blowouts. Eli continues to start every game. And then at the end of the year, if you believe that Darnold or Rosen or Allen or Lamar Jackson, whoever, if you believe that they're a franchise caliber quarterback, you draft them. I don't care how good. I don't care how decent or good Webb looked in mop-up duty, because it's mop-up duty. It wouldn't have mattered. If you believe a franchise quarterback is there, you take him because it's the most valuable asset in football, and every team needs one. No one wins without a franchise quarterback. They don't. Look who wins every year. Yeah. Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. When Peyton was active, it was Peyton. Rodgers always runs through the NFC. Russell Wilson, who I believe is a great quarterback. I know you might disagree.
I do disagree.
But that's fine.
No, yeah,
he's in the upper echelon.
You need a quarterback. I mean, the only exception in the last however many years was Peyton Manning when the Broncos won it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Only exception.
Only exception. So, I believe that they should draft one no matter what. Even if Webb, looking forward, plays...
It's all about if the front office thinks...
Even if Webb plays the last 4 games, all right, let's say Geno plays in Oakland, and then they start Webb, Dallas, Philly, Arizona, Washington in the last 4 games. Even if he looks great, I think I still draft a quarterback. Because you really don't know what Webb is. Even if he looks good, it's 4 games.
Yeah.
You really get to not draft a potential franchise quarterback over 4 games in December against an Arizona team that'll be out of it, against a Washington team that'll probably be out of it, against Philly that might be playing for nothing.
The only argument I could say is if he does look great and you think he has that promise for a very long-standing career, then you can trade back and draft a guy from Notre Dame.
He would have to look really great.
Well, it's all about who the new general manager is going to be. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
If they really think they may have something in Webb, because if he does look good in the last 4 games, granted it's only 4 games, that's enough for a resume to say, all right, this could be my franchise quarterback, as opposed to the college level where those quarterbacks, those top prospects are drafted at. That's more of an impressive audition than what the college guys are doing.
Yeah.
So then you can trade back and draft the O-lineman from Notre Dame and continue to build up the O-line. You got Pugh, who's still young. You got Richburg, who's still young, yet it hasn't stayed healthy.
Both free agents.
Yeah, they're both free agents. You think you'd keep one of them, and Richburg you'll definitely get for cheap now.
Probably
because he hasn't.
If I could
on the field at all this.
If I could only keep one of them, though, I would keep Pugh.
Oh, Pugh's great. He's fantastic
because he can play guard. He can play tackle.
He's gonna want a lot of money because of what he's had to deal with this year. Moving all over the place.
Rightfully so. He should get paid.
And you're gonna have to pay him what?
Has there been that much of a drop off from Richburg to Brett Jones?
No, there hasn't. That's my point, though.
So maybe you don't re-sign Richburg.
Yeah, exactly. Or Richburg Jones, one of them could be your right guard or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, Flowers could still be a serviceable right tackle, maybe.
Right, yeah. Keyword right tackle.
Right tackle, not blind side.
No.
But right. The guy is, he got busted by JPP in practice the other day. But nonetheless, at least if Eli Manning could see his guy coming for him, it's easier to work around. And Jerry Reese failed to do that, though, for the last 3 seasons. He failed to really address. He kept saying, let's give Eric Flowers. Let's not trade up to get Jack Conlon because we knew Tennessee was going to draft him. Wanted Jack Conlon more than anything. Let's not draft Laramie Tunsil because I don't know how well he's doing in Miami, but I'm sure he's doing pretty serviceable. The guy who should have been the number 1 overall pick, really, if not for that video of him smoking.
3 minutes before the draft started.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
Really, he was the number 1 he was the number 1 foot player in the entire draft, Tunsil. But no, let's draft Eli Manning and let's not, make a move to get Leonard Floyd because we knew Chicago traded up to get him, and that's who we really wanted. Leonard Floyd's been a great young player on the Bears. What do you have, 7 sacks last year in 10 games? Something like that.
Look, it's
top of the hour.
Been bought. Yeah, okay.
It's 2:00. It's top of the hour. WZBZ Newton 90.3 FM Sports Saturday up until the 3:00 hour. Jake DeLorenzo. Thank you. A WZBZ Hall of Famer in my mind, Anthony Iotti. Still Director Iotti to me. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
We've been talking about
buddy.
this for the last 6-7 days. We're here. We're talking about it right now.
I needed an outlet. This is
yeah.
I've
had no outlet.
Yeah.
I've had none.
Yeah, because there's only so much you can say like at work when people know I'm a Giants fan. Oh, what do you think? Listen, we're at work. I'm not gonna
even your roommates aren't Giants fans.
No, I'm not gonna give you my 2-hour spiel on the Eli and the Giants situation at work. So it's not even worth talking about. I'm glad this is my outlet today.
Yeah. If we get into other news,
there is other news
surrounding BC loss.
No, how about
I'm just mentioning the Boston College Fest. We're on a BC radio station. The football team went 7-5, 4-4 in the conference. They get a bowl game. BC lost in hockey last night. Basketball team's off to a 5-3 start. That's it.
All right,
that's it. 25 seconds. BC's done with. There's no more conversation there. Yeah, there's all the big conference championship games in college football. That's obviously the big take. another New York fact. We've
Yeah.
talked Eli for a while. We'll still talk about him, I'm sure, throughout the rest of this program. New York Yankees have a manager now.
Yeah, you want to switch over? You want to talk about that instead?
Just for 10 minutes. I mean, unless you really think the Eli issue is not
No.
done
I think
because it isn't. It'll never be done for me.
No, me neither. Yeah, let's switch gears here.
Just a quick little switch there. Aaron Boone is now the new manager of the New York Yankees. I mean, there's nothing to talk about the Red Sox. Sorry,
Gut reaction. What do you think?
nothing. They have no reaction.
I don't either.
No reaction.
It's kind of disappointing that we have no reaction.
Yeah,
but that's where I am.
I mean,
Like-
you shouldn't have fired Girardi.
And you're not. See, and
you
that
know
there
I
it
hate
is.
Girardi, but you know I always said he is a good manager, and I always hated him. I can hate him. I can hate him.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, here's actually another point, though, because we just mentioned the New York Yankees, a brand, the best franchise in all of sports, honestly, in my mind. I'm not saying that as a homer. I mean, they are, if you think of results, they're the number one franchise in all of sports. But the New York Yankees traded for Alex Rodriguez in 2004, right? Or 2003, I'm sorry.
2004.
2004 was his first. No, I thought
04.
03 was his first.
No, 03 was
his
the Boone
first
year.
year was the collapse.
03 was the Boone year.
Oh, yeah.
04 was the
No,
collapse.
You're right. They traded for him in 2004. He's been a Yankee. He's been a great Yankee. Whatever. He's won 2 MVPs with the right. He won 2 MVPs with the Yankees.
Yep.
Great numbers. Hit 500 home runs. Didn't he hit 400? He hit 400, 500, and 600 with the Yankees, right?
Correct.
Yep. All those miles. Should have hit 700. Whatever. The Yankees then, get suspended. Tries to sue the Yankees. Tries to sue baseball. Tries to sue everyone. To save his own ass.
Mm-hmm.
To be frankly. Then he admits, oh, yeah, I took steroids. Biggest suspension in all of sports history.
There's a witch hunt.
Is a whole thing. It was a really ugly situation, especially for Rodriguez. And now he's done a tremendous job rebuilding his image and his impression to the fans and everyone. Fans hated him for a long, long time. I never really did because I was always sympathetic because I loved A-Rod. I mean, he was the best player in baseball. He was better than Jeter. And he moved over to third. Let's not forget.
Listen, I know, man. You don't have to tell me.
All right. But then that last year, he's a 40-year-old DH, can't play the field at all, could barely run, it looked like. His hips are all out of whack, whatever. He's growing man tits a little bit. He needs a bro. But man's ear, whatever. It looks like he does. He looked like an old 40-year-old baseball player who's had a lot of mileage on him. Nonetheless, he had to retire, take a full year off at 37 years old, too, or 38. Doesn't look impressive. Yankees want to get rid of him. They want young guys to start getting more and more at-bats. They want to get rid of him. They kind of humiliate him by releasing him middle of a lost season, really. When
I still don't know where this is going, but yeah.
Had only 4 home runs left to get to 700, whatever. Yet they give a whole ceremony. They invite his entire family to him to home plate. There's a whole thing. The crowd appreciates
I know
him.
where now I know this is going.
Everything like that. Eli Manning has been a Giant for 14 years. He's won them 2 Super Bowls. Done nothing but classes. He had a problem off the field like Alex Rodriguez has
Not
had
one.
numerous times. No. You could say Eli Manning is the classiest person in sports in the last 14 years. Most upstanding guy, him and Tim Duncan. Not Derek Jeter, because Derek Jeter refused to bat lower in the lineup in that season. Definitely not Jeter. Jeter's a little cocky guy. I mean, Kobe Bryant, yeah, but Kobe Bryant had a sexual harassment suit against him. So that automatically loses it. Tom Brady got suspended for cheating. Eli Manning has been nothing but class, has been nothing but represent an organization that prides itself on that class and stand-upness. And Eli Manning was the icon of it. The icon of the entire organization. And what do? They bench him.
They kick him to the curb.
Treat him like he's nothing. And yet A-Rod, a guy who's suspended for the poster boy of steroids of baseball, the Yankees give a great ceremony for him.
Yeah. I think it was it Michael Kay? I think he was talking about that the other day.
Yeah,
the A-Rod comparison.
I stole that.
No, that's fine.
But I'm mentioning it.
That's
now.
fine.
This
No,
is our platform.
That's fine. That's fine. You're right. The treatment of Manning has just been unfathomable. Like you said, that the Yankees, who were sued by or threatened to sue from Alex Rodriguez, gave him a ceremony on the field and brought his family in.
And they really treated him wrong by suspending him, by cutting him at that point in the year in that season.
So if they
with just 4 home runs to go for 700.
So if the Yankees can realize the magnitude of what they were doing by releasing an all-time great player and at least send him out in a dignified manner.
Yeah.
If they can realize that for a guy who cheated the game of baseball and was not exactly the best guy off the field to the Yankee organization, then why can't the Giants do the same to a guy who never cheated, brought them two championships? A-Rod only brought one, and never did a damn thing wrong.
And
off
you
the
know
field.
what? And maybe the way the Yankees did that is also why A-Rod has been a big help to the organization of late too.
Maybe.
He's been great with the hey, Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez give a lot
He's
of
taking Sanchez out to dinner, and all of a sudden Sanchez starts hitting.
Hey, I mean, A-Rod, to my mind, would be a great manager, and he clearly didn't want to be manager. Why would he, though? Live off of his $500 million, dating Jennifer Lopez, having lunch with his beloved daughters, because A-Rod loves his daughters. That's probably why he's not manager. He lose time with his daughters. I mean, baseball manager, that's the most grueling coaching job in sports. I mean, starts in February, ends in, for the Yankees at least, mid-October, every day a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, always like that. So he probably didn't want it. But he's been a great help to the organization, though. I mean, he's giving, granted that was on a public view, but Cashman said he had talks with A-Rod. I bet you A-Rod told him, hey, this is what you really got to look for. As a player who knows these young guys on this team, this is probably what they want in their manager. He probably gave that advice to,
Might have.
just, little, not like you have to listen to me, but here, this is what.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, this is what these players will look at. I mean, he's sporting the Yankee brand, like, better than ever right now. Him and J-Lo, they're doing great. Social media, whatever you say like that. Eli Manning, I don't think is going to do that for the Giants now, or he would do it because he's that stand-up of a guy. But why would he?
It's going to be awkward
Exactly.
Obviously he's going in the Ring of Honor. The Giants Ring of Honor. It's going to be weird. How do you put him in the Ring of Honor and not expect there to be some hard feelings?
My biggest, my urge right now, what I'm really, hanging over a cliff for is just how he's going to react after this season to the Giant organization.
Let's go there. We'll get to Boone later. Let's get to Boone later.
You know what I mean, though? That's what I'm really waiting for, how he is going to respond and treat the organization after it's all done with.
We've talked for an hour about the decision that was made and how we don't agree with it, but let's talk a little more about how it was handled. It was handled wrong by Mara, okay? Wrong by Jerry Reese, wrong by Ben McAdoo, wrong by Jason Pierre-Paul and some of Eli's current teammates. You could even throw Snacks in there, right? We agree there?
Wrong by everyone in the organization.
There's one person in the organization, 2 people in the organization, who handled it right.
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning and Davis Webb actually had some very nice things to say about Eli Manning. Eli Manning, did you see
first two guys in the facility the next day?
Yeah, that's where I was going with this. They were in one of the
Where's
reporters.
Gino?
Who knows where Gino is? One of the reporters goes in the cafeteria. First 2 guys in the building, he sees Eli Manning sitting with Davis Webb mentoring him. Yeah. I mean, you can't make it up. And for Eli to continue to handle it this well just furthers our point of how much we love the guy and how much we're going to miss him when he's gone. It's just it just underscores the fact that this organization should have done better by him. And to your point about the offseason, I don't know. I think he's going to wait until there's a new coach and general manager in place
and see what they want to do.
Because obviously John Mara's not going to let Reese trade him or cut him, because I don't think Reese is going to be making the decision. So we're going to have to wait and see who the coach is, who the general manager is. I think Eli's going to have the patience to do that. And then I think if he gets an inclination that they're not fully committed to him as the quarterback, I think he's going to ask for a trade, as he should. That doesn't make him a bad guy.
No.
Doesn't make him a bad teammate or disloyal. The guy can still play. There's good football left in him. He's earned the right. He's done nothing wrong off the field his career deserves to continue. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So if he demands a trade, or he won't even demand it, he'll kindly request a trade, I think that's the best thing that he could do, and I hope he gets what he wants. I hope he goes where he wants to go.
I mean, Eli's just going to go in there and be like, hey, you know what? Just trade me. That's it. That's just as calmly as I said. He's just going to go into the office and say, you know what? Just trade me. You don't want me? Trade me. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he's going to do.
And fortunately for him, he's got a no-trade clause, so if there's somewhere that they want to send him that he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad he has that.
Like, we can only get you into Cleveland. I don't want to go.
I'm not going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, don't put me in Cleveland. He's like, I want to play football, but I don't want to go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go to Cleveland? I mean,
I wish nothing but the best for him the rest of his career. I really.
100%. I hope he wins, and I hope he wins, and I hope he wins some more.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he wins before the Giants win. It's true what I said. I don't know if I'm a Giant fan. I'm just an Eli Manning fan.
Well, we don't know anything else.
I
People
mean,
our
this is
age.
disgusting, though.
It-
The
It's all we've
fact
known.
that him and Davis Webb were the first two people in the facility the day after all this, that just shows you how great of a person Eli is. What happened? Are you kidding me? Not even the head coach is in the facility first. Really? Did that? Oh my gosh. This is nuts. This is crazy. You see how red my face is getting right now?
I think you're going to start crying.
Oh my gosh, he's the first one in the facility. Him and Webb, not Gino. It's not Gino. It's not Gino
You
trying
can't-
to learn. Hey, Geno Smith really screwed up his career with the Jets by being a jackass with them, getting his jaw broken because he refused to pay a teammate. Whatever that whole stupid thing was, a quarterback doing that too. It's not like two cornerbacks or defensive players or it's supposed to be the leader of the locker room, the quarterback, getting punched in the face.
Getting punched in the face.
By the backup linebacker for not paying. Like, are you kidding me? And yeah, Gino, repaired his image. He backed up Fitzy, whatever, kept his mouth shut, wanted to come to the Giants. He didn't want to move. So he's, hey, you know what? I'm just going to come to the Giants and be a backup quarterback. That's it. Kudos to Gino. He did it right.
Yeah, like I said, he's done nothing wrong with the Giants.
No, he's done nothing wrong. But then he made that post to be like, oh, guys in the locker room know my story. What story?
What story?
What story do you have? You got punched in the mouth by a teammate.
By IK and what's his name? And Polly?
What, you broke your jaw. Like, that's your story. You don't have a story.
You don't have it. Your story is you were a bust. You've been a bust. That's your story.
Yeah. If you,
Second round pick out of a big program.
Yep.
West Virginia. I mean, let's not act like you're some sort of martyr here, Gino. I mean, come on. Oh, I've kept my mouth shut. So what? You've done nothing. You've earned nothing. And I think what makes this whole situation even worse, it would be one thing, again, like we've said a million times, to bench Eli and see what Webb has. To go to Gino is 10 times worse, but to go to a guy who played for the Jets, because so many Giant fans watch the Jets. You probably watch most Jet games. I watch most Jet
that's
games.
the second team I know the most about.
Right. Just
the
because they're in the news that we follow.
Yeah.
That's the case for pretty much most Giants fans, I would say.
And they've been competitive this
So
year.
this is not who's a random backup quarterback. This is not Charlie Whitehurst, okay, who spent his career in Cleveland and Seattle or wherever else. Some random journeyman backup.
Charlie White.
This is not him, okay? This is a guy that Giant fans have watched, and they've watched him in New York, and they've watched him fail. Nobody has any respect for the guy. The fans don't want this. They don't want him. Again, if it was Webb, maybe you talk us into it. It's a guy who had no class for a time with the Jets, who failed with the Jets, who the Jets didn't want. The Jets are supposed to be the little brother, okay? And look, everything's turned on its head, and that doesn't sit well with me.
The next day, the first two people in the facility
And it doesn't even surprise.
were the rookie trying to get advice from the Hall of Famer.
If he knows
And the
what's good for him.
Hall of Famer who got benched coming in early to help out the rookie.
If Webb knows what's good for him, he'll do that every day. He'll come in
And I bet
with
you he
Eli
is.
every
I
day.
bet you
And
no
I bet
one-
you Eli will do it with him every day.
I bet you no one talks to Eli Manning more than Davis Webb does. Because, David, and I'm rooting for Davis. I'm 100% rooting for Davis Webb to be great.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want him to be great. I'm a Giant fan. Yes, I'm a Giant fan. But I want him to be great. And I bet you Webb, too, the character you see from Davis Webb, no matter how fantastic he does in these 4 games, he'll say next year, I still want Eli on this team. That's the guy I've been learning from. They were the first 2 in there. Eli Manning just went through, honestly, the most embarrassing thing he's ever had to go through in his life.
The worst day of his professional life.
Yeah, unless something really personal happened.
No, his professional life.
Yeah, professional life.
He even said it. They asked him in the press conference, is this the hardest day for you as a Giant? And he goes, yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
It 100% is.
It obviously is. The only other option would be the day they fired Coughlin. Those are the only 2. What else could it be?
All right. I mean, Eli Manning's done so much. He's taken so many hits for this organization. In the media, people make fun of Eli Manning before anyone. Think of how many insults people throw at Eli Manning. Oh, the goof. He doesn't look like he knows where he is. All that stuff. You know, he takes it all and he loves it.
Yeah.
I mean, on SNL, he makes fun of himself it was great. He was great on SNL. He made fun of himself for giving those stupid looks on his face. He loves it. He gets it.
He gets it.
He gets it. He's done so much. It stands up for them. When I met Eli Manning this past summer going into the season, I talked to him like, hey, what do you think of Evan Ingram? What do you think of the team? He goes, no, we got a great team. Everyone works hard. We're all working hard to really get it. We're saying everything right. And he treated me as if I was a reporter or anyone else. And I'm a nobody compared to him. And Eli Manning, I remember he pulled up in the driveway driving his own Toyota Sequoia, whatever.
Got a Toyota.
He was driving himself in New York traffic. He didn't have a driver with him. Nothing like that. You couldn't get more humble. Couldn't get more class than him. And he gets benched. He gets humiliated by some moronic coach.
Who's done nothing in his career. Whose whole career is built on the back of Aaron Rodgers and then the good years that Manning had when he was the coordinator. That's it. That's Ben McAdoo's whole career.
All right, again, you know, you say these things about athletes and celebrities and all, and then when you finally see them in person, you probably wouldn't say those things about them. Like, I've said a lot of things about LeBron James, but if I ever saw LeBron, I would treat LeBron with the utmost respect. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like, we've made fun of Eli Manning before, I'm sure, but if he came in here, you know, those sort of things. If Ben McAdoo actually came in here, I'd have no fear to say anything to him at all, because he really has done nothing. Nothing! He hasn't done a thing. He looks like crap. He is crap. Everything about him is crap. Right? Maybe he's got good kids. Maybe those kids are, you know, good. You know, maybe they have friends on Halloween or whatnot like that. Or maybe
maybe they have friends on Halloween?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe they're good kids. You
okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're good kids, you know, maybe they're not loser kids or stuff like that. You know, maybe his wife is good looking and sweet. Maybe she makes great cookies. She probably does make great cookies. Right? He probably has a dozen a night. It really makes oh my gosh.
Listen,
just the fact, and I can't get over the fact that Eli Manning is the first one in the facility helping.
But it shouldn't people like us, it shouldn't surprise us.
No.
At all.
And yet and the best quote ever that come out of everything days after, even up until this very second that we're talking right now. Tom Coughlin's first words addressed to media about this whole news. Doesn't surprise me at all. That's what Mara let the New York Giant organization get to. This disgusting, embarrassing move does not surprise Tom Coughlin at all. That says it all right there.
It really does. It really.
Way to go, John Mara. Way to go.
I'm telling you, he's turned in the past 2 years. It's astounding how they've taken this organization to new depths, to some valley that I don't know how they're going to get out of.
And the worst part is, and they support Odell Beckham at all costs. They support him. 100% support him. I mean, from the start. And you know what? And I'll never get mad at Odell. I'll never say trade Odell. Anyone who says trade Odell.
I'm with you.
No.
I'm with you.
And Odell, even the celebrations, that doesn't bother me so much. Because when you think about it, when it comes to practice in the locker room and everything, they say Odell's the greatest guy. He has no problems with any teammates, and he's one of the hardest workers on that field. He's the number one hardest working, beside Eli, he's the second hardest working offensive player. Everyone says Odell works his ass off in practice and everything. He understands the playbook, and maybe that's why Odell's as talented as he is, because he works his ass off. Yeah, he does whatever he does off the field. Who cares if he does what
He's not hurting anybody.
Yeah, honestly, I never had any problem with Odell Beckham at all. The problem is the organization letting him do what he's done and they've picked him over Eli Manning. Odell has done nothing. Yeah, he's been an all-pro receiver. He's set the records, fastest, whatever, which are completely gone after being hurt this whole year. But the organization and Mara, they all seem to support Odell before they support Eli Manning.
You're right, especially the head coach. The head coach who decides to selectively discipline Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Janoris Jenkins, never once has said a bad word about Beckham, never once has even said a bad word about Flowers, but he continually takes shots at Eli.
Yep.
At first,
and I don't mind that because
At
Eli
first,
can
I
handle
thought
it.
it's just because Eli could take it. I thought this is strategic. When he did it, he said it in the offseason. McAdoo made a comment about Eli in the
I
offseason.
mean, Belichick does that to Brady all the time.
I thought
Brady's
it was.
the first name Belichick mentions.
That's
about
what I
saying
thought.
anything.
That's what I thought
Yeah, I
McAdoo
didn't
was
care
doing.
for it. I didn't care for that at all.
No, but before,
Like, I didn't care
but
that he
back,
said it.
But back,
Like,
back when we gave McAdoo the benefit of the doubt, I thought he was just okay. He's not going to criticize Flowers because he doesn't think Flowers can take it. He knows Eli can take it. Fine,
Nothing wrong with that.
like you said, we don't care. That's okay. But now that I've watched McAdoo botch everything the whole year and continue to criticize Eli, I don't think that he was just criticizing Eli because Eli can take it. Now I think that he has no interest in having Eli Manning or the type of quarterback that Eli Manning is as his quarterback. I think he, for some reason, is convinced he needs someone much more mobile, which, as I've harped this whole time, if you put the right guys around Eli, you don't need him to be mobile.
You don't need him to be great in the regular season. Just get him to the playoffs. You see what he did last year in Green Bay? Threw the ball. I've never honestly.
There's a lot of zip on that ball.
I don't remember him throwing the ball that great, even when he was younger in the Super Bowl years. Did you ever? When was the last time you remember him throwing the ball like that?
The 2011 Super Bowl year
Like he was throwing,
was the best he's ever looked.
Like he threw beautiful in that game. He was throwing throws like Rodgers out there. And of course, the receivers couldn't catch the football. Like
No.
the one day they don't catch, it was that day.
Yep.
Like it's amazing. And Odell, Odell is a great player, but the fact that they picked Odell, you've seen this since Odell came in. Yeah, he's he's top 3 most dynamic players in the game probably today. You'd have to say that when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And he does his off the field. He's a great promoter for the organization. He sells. I get that, and it is a business too. So I get why you support him. But to still support him over Eli, who's actually won and done it? Like Eli Manning doesn't sell for you?
Terrible.
He's the only
Terrible.
selling point for the team so far, and you got rid of him. Now there's nothing to come to the stadium for.
No.
Not one thing.
I'm going to watch the game tomorrow, and I don't even really know why.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch the game over the Knick game at 3:30. I'll be watching that probably until the end of
the Knick game?
Yeah, till the end of the Knick game, and then I'll turn on the Giant game. And you know what I really dream of? I dream Geno gets hurt and Eli actually says, "No, I don't want to come in."
He wouldn't say that.
No, he wouldn't. But I dream for that.
Is Webb going to be active tomorrow?
No,
Oh my God.
Eli's the only backup.
Oh my God.
That's what makes it even worse. The fact that,
I thought he was at least going to be active,
like,
even if he was the number 3.
but that's what makes it worse. You literally benched Eli, and if Geno gets hurt,
You're going back to him.
how more insulting could you get?
You can't. They can't. They could not insult him, or they could not have handled this worse than they have.
And of course, Eli's going to keep his mouth shut, say nothing but great
Yeah.
things about the team and support and all that.
You know exactly how this. If Geno were to get hurt, you know exactly how this is going to happen. Eli's going to trot out there like nothing ever changed. He's going to go into the huddle, and then they're going to ask the offensive lineman after the game. What did Eli say in that huddle? They're going to say, he said what he always says. Let's go make plays.
Yeah,
That's
all.
it. He's not going to do anything different when he gets in the game. He's a football player. He wants to win.
That's all
Geno Smith, I don't think Geno Smith gives a damn about winning. Do you?
No, not at all. I don't think he cares about anything but himself. I think he's a selfish guy.
Probably is. And maybe it's unfair for us to say that, but
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Well, from history, he is a selfish guy. He's a nobody. He's a legit nobody.
When do you think they go to Webb? The next week against Dallas?
Yeah, you'd have to think. That's the only thing you can
Well,
sell.
you'd have to think, but there's a lot of things that we thought and were wrong about. We thought this was a playoff team.
Exactly.
We thought, worst case, we thought this was an 8-8, 9-7 team, and that's worst case.
I mean, everyone thought they were. How could you think they aren't?
No, of course. So
It's the same
and they're 2, and they're going to be in the top 3 in the draft. They're 2 and 9.
I have some friends. There's people. Oh, let's put more blame to Jerry Reese for this season than Ben McAdoo. Absolutely not. Jerry Reese has done a terrible job in his tenure as a general manager. He's had his bright spot picks, but like you said, you expect to get stars in the first and second rounds.
Right.
Like, that's not surprising. You make yourself into GM by your 3rd through 7th round picks and trades or, undrafted free agents. Oh, yeah, he had Victor Cruz. Great. I mean, any team could have got lucky with Victor Cruz, too. You know what I mean? So, but Jerry Reese, the only thing different about this team and last year's team is the loss of Hankins. Literally, that is the...
Which has not affected them because Tomlinson has played well.
Yeah. the only difference. There is not one other difference.
Right. They added Marshall. They drafted Ingram. They lost Hankins. That's about it.
Not one other
The other
difference.
starters are really the same.
Everyone else is the exact same. And yet, the team is worse, and the locker room fell apart, and Eli Manning's benched. That's not Jerry Reese. Jerry Reese, say what you want. He didn't fix the issue of an offensive line, which he should have done.
That's the indictment of him.
That's the indictment of him. But okay, but still.
But they were 11-5 with this offensive line last year.
They were in a cap space problem. They didn't want to spend the money on 36-year-old Whitworth, which they should have done.
Of course they should have.
They didn't draft the lineman at all until the sixth round with Chad Wheeler.
Adam Bisnowadi, who's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
They've had how many injuries on the O-line? The guy can't get off the practice squad.
Exactly. So you know what? Reese, just tried bolstering up the other parts of the team instead of addressing the O-line because, hey, they had success last year. They had success with that same exact
It didn't
offensive
appear
line.
broken, so he didn't fix it.
Exactly. That's all, and the issue was the problem, but he didn't do anything. He's like, all right, we were great last year. Let's just improve upon some areas. Let's plug in the Hankins hole, and let's hope the O-line, it's just another year of chemistry and getting better. That's what he thought. All right, it was an issue, but you can't blame him for the poor results on the field this year. That's 110% on McAdoo. It's the same exact team. And he lost the locker room.
Easily lost the locker room.
It's all McAdoo. He benched Eli Manning. All McAdoo.
Well, that came from above.
Benching Eli?
Partly.
You think so?
If Mara and Reese weren't on board,
No, but
it wouldn't have
I think
happened.
the idea came from them first over McAdoo first. I think McAdoo had the idea and then told them, and they said, okay, do it. That's what
I don't know. I feel like we've heard conflicting things the last couple of days. The impression I got from Mara was that Reese brought it up to, or I'm getting confused in the chain now.
Well, Reese actually, it wouldn't surprise me if Reese came up with the move, but not Mara. I don't think Mara did. I don't think Mara's smart enough to think like that.
I think Reese brought it up to Mara, and Reese said, I've already talked to Ben. I've already talked to McAdoo about it. And Mara obviously signed off on it.
That's
I can't
right.
I can't 100% put that on McAdoo. There's a zillion other things we can put on McAdoo. But you're right. Your overall point is right. Jerry Reese is not getting fired solely because of this year. Jerry Reese is getting fired over a poor body of work from his whole tenure. McAdoo, however, is getting fired based on this year and the fact that despite his record last year, the offense was terrible. That's why and obviously losing the locker room is the big part of this year.
Hasn't he not scored 30 points in one
Never.
game as
Not
head
once.
coach?
Not once.
Are you kidding me?
They haven't scored more than 24 points since...
Didn't they average 26 points a game in his 2 years as a coordinator?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Unbelievable. So I don't understand how that could happen.
I mean, part of it is because, he doesn't focus on he has to focus on the whole team. I get that.
That can be a small part of it.
I mean, that's probably the big part of it. But, not the big part. The big part was you lost Coughlin. That really was. Coughlin didn't call plays. He separated. He goes, offensive coaches, you coach offense and offense only. Defensive coaches, coach defense and defense only. I'll worry about everything as a whole.
Right.
And it worked.
Yes.
He won 2 Super Bowls that way.
And kept them competitive.
That's the other
always
thing. They went 6-10 years with him, but they were always competitive in those years still.
Yes,
it wasn't like a good team. The Patriots were what were they, 8-1 or 7-1 probably at the time when they came in?
And they played them in 2015?
Yeah, when we were watching the game together.
At Gross's house, yeah.
You were at Gross's
house. Oh, yeah.
I was back in my room,
yes.
I remember. The game where Landon
It was
Collins,
about the only game we didn't watch together that year.
Yeah, when Landon Collins dropped,
yes,
could
that
have
was
been the game-winning
terrible.
play, whatever. The Giants were out of it by then. They were a team that was now looked at, to be highly successful in that season because you saw their defense was terrible. They lost that game against the Saints prior that year.
Uwani Unga, Marcus Kuhn.
The Cowboy game, the first game of the season. You knew that would be the season. Their defense wouldn't do it like the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the year before. It's the defense that lost them the games, not the offense. Yet the Patriots went in there knowing that this was not going to be an easy game.
And the Giants, certainly wasn't an easy
Giants
game.
fought them to the last second game-winning field goal. It was like a
54-yard field goal by Gostkowski.
In MetLife Stadium win.
Mm-hmm.
So they were always competitive. And, of course, this season, when they aren't a playoff team, they're just not competitive at all. They're jokes. Yeah,
They can't get Janoris Jenkins to try. They can't get him to try. One of the most talented cornerbacks in football.
Highest paid, too. One of the highest paid.
Won't even make an effort to make a tackle. You kidding me? Eli Apple.
You didn't develop him at
Eli
all.
Apple, who's a second-year player who's done nothing in this league, is so not accomplished enough to take even a play off. On 3rd and 33 is running away from the wide receiver with the ball. Running away from him.
It's amazing how much he regressed, number 10 overall pick. He's awful.
Yeah.
And
he
I
has been.
hated him last year, too. He's awful.
But I think it's mostly because of effort. I don't think it's... I don't even really put that on Jerry Reese, because I think he took a talented kid who played well.
Who had a good rookie year.
Who had played well in stretches last year.
Yeah, a good
but
rookie year.
Clearly has an effort problem and an attitude problem.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick.
Big one.
I'm so sick. Everyone's making excuses for him because of the family things he has going on right now. You hear about this?
Not an
Come on.
excuse.
That doesn't mean you don't try on the field. If you're on the field,
That
you
should make
play.
you try harder.
If you're on the field, you play, okay?
Should
That's
make
it.
you try harder.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his mother, what, she had brain surgery?
She had surgery, yeah.
Yeah, she had brain surgery.
And came out of it fine.
You don't think his mother, the first thing she'd probably tell Eli, of all mothers, that woman being as public as she is, getting hired, whatever happened with her, you don't think the first thing she'd probably tell Eli, make sure you try, you work your ass off on the field?
You shouldn't have to tell him to try. He's a professional athlete.
Exactly. There's zero. Eli Apple has zero excuse for how awful he's been this season. He's a bust.
Yeah.
He's a bust.
Right now he is.
Yeah.
Now he is. And
Complete bust.
wouldn't surprise me if he's not on this team next year.
Yeah,
Some new GM might come in and say, I don't want this guy. I didn't pick this guy. This guy's got an attitude problem. He's out. Trading him.
Like him.
Dumping
I like it, and I would love it because I hated Eli Apple. I didn't.
Yeah,
like
you
that
didn't.
pick.
In fairness, you didn't like that.
I
do
wanted
remember that.
Hargreaves first, and Hargreaves isn't that great. But if I had to pick one of those corners, I'd rather have Hargreaves.
At least one of them hasn't had an effort problem.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. The game a couple weeks ago when they beat Kansas City, and everyone's all excited. Okay, you can be. I was excited that they won. I was glad they won. But here's the difference. I'm not going to applaud effort. Okay. Oh, look, the defense tried.
That's
The
what
defense
should
should
have been all
try.
year.
You're professional athletes.
All year
I'm not going to
defense.
applaud you for putting in an effort, Janoris Jenkins, like the interception he had against Washington. Oh, look, Jenkins, he's back. Yeah, he never should have been anywhere. He never should have taken plays off. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's been reduced to that we have to applaud these guys for playing hard for this head coach. No, I won't do it. I'm not. You get no points for not loafing in my book. You don't get points for that. Okay. How about you look at your quarterback who never once complained about the talent around him on the offensive line. Never. You watch his post game press conference every week. Well, we gotta find a way to play better. These are the guys we have,
And there's nothing
we're gonna
else
work
to
harder.
say. What else could you say?
There's nothing else to say. Exactly. Because there's nothing else productive you can say. A lesser guy might stand there and say, yeah, I turned the ball over today, but it's tough when you have no time because your left tackle is struggling. It never says that.
Nope.
Never says, we got to get the guys back together at practice and work harder and get better. That's the perfect thing to say. And I'm so tired of seeing the guys on the defensive side of the ball criticizing, Eli Apple saying we have a culture problem. Yeah, maybe you're part of the problem, Apple. How about you look in the mirror?
You know what was the worst part?
The culture problem is not coming from your quarterback, the guy who's taking the fall.
How many videos didn't it look like this was going to be the year in training camp? They were all everyone in the locker room's dancing. They all looked like they enjoyed each other, right?
Right.
Like you saw that,
I saw
didn't
it.
you?
Yeah.
The social media streams, everything. It looked like everyone was having a great time. And what just added to it was you lost Odell, and you lost the first 2 games of the year. Well, okay, I'll say first 3, right? Dallas, Detroit,
Philly.
Right? Was Philly the 4th?
Philly was 3rd. Tampa was 4th.
All right, you lost the first 3 games. Those are tough divisions. 2 division opponents, the Lions, who's a good Lions team, whatever. And they had the culture going for them. They had it going into the first week, even the second week, even the third week, because they should have won that game at Philly.
If they had played more than 10 minutes, they didn't show up till the 4th quarter of that game.
Exactly. And they just couldn't deal with it. And again, McAdoo was not able to handle the team when they were losing. Tom Coughlin would have handled the team when they were losing. He's done it before. Think about that year they went 0 our freshman year of college when they went 0-5 to start the year.
0-6.
0-6, and they won 4 in a row, and actually had a shot to get in the division if they beat Dallas that night.
Yes. I remember it.
That was the whole season, was that one game.
Right.
And then they only went 6-10 to finish the year. Like,
I think they went 7-9 that year. I think they started 0-6 and finished 7-3.
yeah, and then they went 6-10 and 6-10.
They started. That's Coughlin. 0-6, no quit. Let's go win 7 of our last 10 and actually sort of threaten to win the division.
And they
McAdoo?
Yep.
Oh, we lost our first 2. Let's just completely. Let's have our players go in the tank and not give effort.
Yep. That's
Such a stark difference.
That's where the blame is on McAdoo and the players themselves.
Of course.
Because there's no leaders. And Eli Manning's a leader by example, not by personality, though.
Again, that's another
never
thing.
been him.
Right. The 2 things people criticizing for, well, why can't Eli keep the team together? That's never been him to be vocal, okay? Stop asking him to be 2 things that he's not. 1, vocal, and 2, mobile. That's never been him. That's not how he wins.
Never. Like, it's not been him. Like, he had Strahan in 07. Strahan was the vocal leader of that team.
Oh, by far.
In 2012, it was kind of Victor Cruz.
Brandon Jacobs.
OC was still there.
Bradshaw was still there.
It was a combination of guys who've been there. And you had Tom Coughlin. All right, Eli's never been the vocal leader, so you don't expect anything from him. And yet when they lost their first 3 games of the year, yeah, that was tough to lose those 3 games. 2 against the division.
On the road.
Both were on the road, though. They were both on the road. And then the Lion game, okay, it happened. But they weren't out of it.
No, they weren't.
I mean, Justin Pugh said, look at the run we're going to go on now. He was pumped up for it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it didn't happen. And I blame that on McAdoo for not making sure they stayed focused. That's where I blame McAdoo more than anyone else for this season.
No, I do too. I completely agree.
Right.
You look back at the game against the Chargers, which was really where the wind came out of the sails. I mean,
'cause that's Odell. Odell got hurt that game, right?
yeah. And not only him, but Marshall, Dwayne Harris, not that Dwayne Harris is any great player, and Sterling Shepard. When you lose 4 receivers in one game, what we saw on that last drive, they were down, I think, 4 or 5 points, and Eli's out there with Rhett Ellison playing wide receiver because they didn't even have guys like Travis Rudolph dressed for that game, obviously. Yeah. He's out there.
They only have 5 receivers dressed for a game, I think.
Yeah, he's out there with Ingram and Rhett Ellison as his receivers. And that was just a sign of things to come. And looking back, it's so sad that that's what we've watched the rest of the season, essentially.
Yeah.
We've watched guys like Tavares King and Roger Lewis who just don't have it. I don't blame them, but they don't have it. They're not, whatever Eli tries to do with them, and I'm sure he's working them hard in practice, trying to get them to learn, how much can you expect from him to do with these guys? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's done well just to get them the ball at all, if you ask me. I don't know.
It's the most disappointing season in New York sports since, I don't even know, in all of New York sports.
That's a good question.
For any team. I mean, you could say the Knicks when they won 17 games, all right, but you knew they drafted Kristaps Porzingis. They weren't supposed to be a good team that year anyway. If anything, being bad in basketball is almost a good thing. Look at Philly now, the Sixers, trust the process, whatever. Like, because in basketball, that's the easiest to predict, prospects.
Right.
In football, gain a high draft pick, doesn't matter who the quarter, you have no idea. Like the Colts, did they know about Andrew Luck? No. I mean, the Redskins trade up because they thought RG3, and look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Football, you cannot predict. It's that and baseball, 2 hardest sports to predict.
Yeah, because baseball, they got to go through 9 layers of the minor leagues.
Exactly. So
they got to conquer all of them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you draft first overall. Like Bryce Harper is, and a guaranteed, Nationals didn't know he'd be as great as he was. Dustin Ackley was the number 1 American prospect.
Yeah, Dustin Ackley. Wow.
Second overall pick by the Mariners, and he sucked.
I think for part of this year,
that's what makes losing in football so much worse.
For part of this year, if we want to talk about disappointing New York sports seasons, for the first half, it looked like it was a very similar year to the Mets, their most recent Met team, where a team with a lot of expectations, some good veterans, some good young pieces, but they got ravaged by injuries. They had some bad luck
early.
early.
Had no veterans.
What team? The Mets?
Yeah, what veterans did the Mets have?
Well, they had David Wright. He didn't. He obviously didn't make it very far into the year.
Oh, David Wright.
They had him. At this point, you can call DeGrom a veteran at this point.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, he's a veteran. Harvey, I guess.
Neil Walker's a veteran. Cabrera's a veteran. Cespe's a veteran.
Yeah,
Granderson's a veteran.
English, but okay.
Granderson. All right, not the point.
Yeah.
For a while, it looked like a similar trajectory of, okay, really disappointing, but you can kind of blame the injuries.
Oh,
and
if
some
they
bad luck.
had Syndergaard,
But then,
that's
but
15
then,
more wins.
but then, once the Giants stopped trying, the Giants became the much bigger disappointment than the Mets.
Exactly.
Because as bad as the Mets were, as much as they let down their fans who expected 90-plus wins, maybe the division, going to the playoffs for the third year in a row, at least they didn't quit.
No.
At least they had the basic respect for the game, respect for the uniform, not to quit, which you can't say about the Giants. That's where it went wrong. That's why the Giants are the much bigger disappointment than them. And I can't think of a bigger disappointment in my life in New York sports. I mean, I've read like a couple things about this. One of them said, I think it was like the 93 Mets, the worst team money can buy. I don't really know a lot about them, so I shouldn't speak to it.
I don't know anything about it.
But that was like a comparison that was made. But that's the point. You have to go back 25 years before you can even make a comparison to a team that's been this disappointing. Mm-hmm. Isn't that pathetic?
Nonetheless, it's the Giants, too. The New York Football Giants, a team that prides itself on, work ethic and stand-up and all the millions of, verbs you call them, whatever you call it. Millions. That team. I mean, this is what you expect from like a Jet team.
Right.
Or even a Met team. It's what you expect from the
You
Mets
expect
or
it from
Jets.
the little brother.
Yeah, you expect it you don't expect it from the Yankees, and the Yankees haven't had that since before 94.
Mm-hmm.
Where they've been a disappointing team.
Right.
All right, the Yankees, because, hey, Joe Girardi, no longer the manager. I said my criticisms about him. I still have those criticisms. But they finished over 500 every single year with him. He averaged 91 wins a year as manager.
Yep.
Winningest manager in the last decade of baseball.
Yep.
By, number of regular season wins at least.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for this team to really implode the way it does. And I blame McAdoo for the results on the field in this season, but I blame John Mara for the way the organization is now looked at in the future. And it has been the last 4 years. I blame Mara because the two most important parts of a football team, head coach and quarterback, right or wrong?
Right. Oh, right. 100% right.
John Mara didn't do anything to get his two last Super Bowls. It was Tom Coughlin, Eli Manning, and that came from Wellington and Ernie Accorsi.
Yes.
Did I say that? Accorsi?
Accorsi.
Yeah. Didn't come from John. John didn't do anything.
No.
Did nothing.
Neither did Reese.
And Reese did nothing. Yeah. You could say, oh, those are the guys who put the rest of the 52 players on the field. Great. Those quarterback, head coach, two most important things by a landslide on a football field. And John Mara had nothing to do with it. He's been a disappointment. It's amazing how great owners, their sons are disappointments. It's amazing. John, disappointment in my mind. Hal, and what was it, Hal and Al?
Hank. Hal and Al. Hank.
Hank?
He's not even involved.
Yeah, ever since, Hal got rid of him. Hal, sort of a disappointment. Kind of, in a way. Now it's proving me wrong, but, Jim Dolan don't even, can't even get into it. Like, it's amazing.
So what? We got 15 minutes left here, and I do want to spend a couple minutes on the Yankees. But first, what do the Giants do? Who do you want to see as the head coach next year? Or the GM, but that's a little tougher.
GM, I don't know many names. And
Yeah.
I don't trust anyone in-house. I don't want Mark
No,
Ross.
it's got to be an external hire.
It's got to be an external hire. I know the guy from the Panthers who used to be
Gettleman?
the Panthers. That's the name they're throwing a lot. And I wouldn't mind it because he's had, good success. He's a real football guy. He's been a GM before, and he came from the Giants, Wellington Mara days. So that's a name, Ernie Accorsi days. Wouldn't mind it. Again, I don't know too much though. I don't.
No,
know
that's fair.
I
I don't
know the
either.
general manager
That's
landscape.
Gettleman is pretty much the only name that I've.
I wouldn't
heard too.
want what the Niners did in John Lynch, and John Lynch may be good. He made an impressive first round draft. Gang Garoppolo, whatever. But I don't want a guy who's never had experience before at all. I want an experienced guy. I want a guy I've never heard of before. Like the Knicks hired Scott Perry, a guy you never heard of before. But the Knicks so far, it looks like Scott Perry knows what the heck he's doing. So I want a guy I've never heard before, really.
All right, so that's GM. What about head coach?
Can I steal, or does it have to be an available guy?
You can steal, but you might have to make a trade. You give up like a pick or something.
Sean Payton would be my guy.
You want Sean Payton? That's fair.
Like him or Harbaugh?
Which Harbaugh?
Jim, not John.
You want Jim Harbaugh from Michigan?
Yep.
Yeah, but he's not coming unless he can also be essentially be the GM and have control.
And you know what? I wouldn't mind that because the guy's proven it. And he developed Colin Kaepernick into a good quarterback, and he won with Alex Smith too.
Yeah, he was. I thought he did a phenomenal job in the NFL.
You know,
I really did.
because I think Harbaugh,
He hasn't really won at Michigan though.
No, and he hasn't. And great, but it's college. College and NFL are very different.
Of course,
to
yeah, no,
succeed
they're
in.
very different.
Because college, you have to recruit.
So Sean Payton 1, Jim Harbaugh 2. That's who you want.
Those would be my. Top
I'm going to throw
two.
a name out there, and you have no idea how you're going to react. You might love it, you might hate it. Here's a guy I think I want.
I want to hear it.
It's a guy with NFL experience as head coach, because I think the next guy they hire is going to have head coaching experience.
And he should.
Because the last hire didn't, McAdoo, and it's a disaster.
And he should.
How about Jim Schwartz? Defensive coordinator in Philly, head coach in Detroit, didn't do great, but I also don't think they had a competent GM at the time that he was there. Goes to Philly,
and
that
defense
defense
got to go too.
goes to Philly, and that defense is great. And yeah, they have some big names up front, the front four. But look at their secondary.
Yeah.
Look who they win with. Jim Schwartz, I think, is a very good defensive mind, and I think he can be a better head coach if you give him a GM that's competent.
And you know what? You said this when the Giants were hiring a coach. I supported McAdoo, and really because that was Eli was his biggest endorser. That's why I supported McAdoo mostly. And you said it, Lovie Smith, kind of that same
That's
idea.
who I wanted that time.
Lovie
yeah.
Smith, an experienced coach, went to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. I don't even care how good that Bears defense was. Rex Grossman was their quarterback, and Thomas Jones was their running back. And who were their receivers even on those teams?
Oh, I don't remember.
I really don't remember at all. Like, Lovie Smith was a very good coach, a defensive-minded coach too, because let the offense operate. Let the coordinator focus on offense and offense only. So, and I like Jim Schwartz. I like that name.
There's one problem with that idea.
I would 100% endorse Jim Schwartz.
There's one problem with my idea. It's that if you do draft, let's say Darnold or Rosen or one of those young quarterbacks, you probably want an offensive head coach.
You see,
Like
I don't
Mick-
agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't.
Okay, why not?
I don't agree with that philosophy because look at Tom Brady and Belichick. Belichick's
I
defense.
guess. I guess that. I don't know.
As long as Brady, granted,
I think Brady's an exception. Brady and
Yeah.
Belichick are exceptions to just about every rule.
he's an exception. All right, but Tony Dungy, Peyton Manning. Tony Dungy, he's a defensive guy. Tomlin and Bill Cowher were both defensive guys for Big Ben. Like, it's not even about offensive coach because he gets offense more. It's about just a competent coach who understands players and player development.
That's fair. No, actually, I think you make some good points.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter. And that's why
But it might matter to the guys making the decisions.
Exactly. That's why I am a supporter of Harbaugh and Payton because, especially Harbaugh. Harbaugh, he won with Alex Smith, and then he saw, the skill in Kaepernick and developed Kaepernick into a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yep.
And if Harbaugh didn't leave, Kaepernick and the Niners would probably still be in good position right now.
They might be.
Because Harbaugh had a handle on the locker room. He was a jackass and everything you want to say about that, but knew how to handle a locker room. He got players. That's who I want. I want a guy who can handle a locker room. And for drafting a young quarterback like a Darnold, or if Webb develops, whatever, it's not about the schematics that the coach has. It's about how he handles the locker room and the player development. Can he be what Tom Coughlin was, a father-like almost figure in the locker room to Eli Manning and to the next young quarterback? That's it. Nothing to do with what background. It's all about his competence. So
Wow.
I think
it's a very strong argument. I like that.
I could care less if it's offense or defense. Jim Schwartz, that's a very good name. I'd 100% endorse.
Okay. Josh McDaniels.
No, 100% not. I don't think he can handle a locker room.
Okay.
Denver, he got fired immediately. Yeah, he's got a good offensive mind, but I don't think he handles a locker room great.
Okay.
That's just me, though.
All right. I'll throw, when I come up with some more names, I'll throw them out there to you. But I think that's a great point, and I don't know what they're going to do. I really could see it being, I could see them making a big move to try to get Sean Payton, because Breeze, as well as the Saints are playing, it's slowly starting to become not so much Breeze's team now. They're relying on the run, they're relying on the defense. And once Breeze goes, it kind of makes sense for Breeze and Payton to leave at similar times. Maybe not
Sean
exactly
Payton's
the same
a
year.
giant guy.
Yeah, he's on the Parcells tree. He's a giant.
I think he wanted to come to the Giants too during that whole rumor thing. Because he didn't know the Saints would honestly rebound like this.
No, yeah, that's
he
true.
probably didn't see that.
Probably not.
Yeah, and he's a great coach too.
I think he's a good coach. I do.
Very
yeah.
good coach.
I would be happy. I would give up draft picks for him.
100% would.
Mhm.
They should have done it. They should have done it before.
Yeah.
Would have
Yeah.
loved Sean Payton. And that's it. I just want a coach that has experience, but knows how to handle a locker room. Sean Payton's done it. I mean, I don't remember anything happening in Detroit, but Detroit never had talent around Stafford anyway and Calvin Johnson. They never had talent, especially on the defensive
Especially
side
on
of the
defense,
ball.
which is Schwartz's area.
Exactly. Never had talent to work with Schwartz. So I would 100% endorse Schwartz. I like that.
All right.
Very much like, and he's a fiery guy too.
Yes, he is.
Very fiery.
Yeah, I know you like. Yeah,
like
you
a little
that.
fireball.
Yes.
I mean, remember when he attacked Harbaugh? He got right in Harbaugh's face during that whole thing.
Yep.
Harbaugh smacked him a little too hard on the back. Jimmy Schwartz wasn't taking that. He didn't like that at all. So, it's all about competence. It's all about, and he's got to be able to handle the media too, because McAdoo has not handled it at all.
No, oh my God, that's
No idea.
one of his worst of all his flaws. Is one of his worst.
All right, Belichick really doesn't handle media great, but he wins, so it doesn't matter. McAdoo, if he handled the media better, we wouldn't be criticizing him as much. But he has no idea how to talk, especially because when you deal with the media, that's your fan base. Media is the fan base.
It's talking to the fans. Yeah.
That's all it is. So a New York coach is going to be is talking to his fans more than any other coach. So you want a guy who can talk to, and now we transition that into the Yankee manager search because we were going to jump on that this is his Newton Station, New York radio talk. But part of the big interview with the Yankees, as Cashman said, was how do they handle the media? Because that's talking to the fans.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. And being the manager of the Yankees, nonetheless, the situation that Cashman puts this new Yankee manager into is more pressure than any position in sports.
Was there anyone besides A-Rod, someone that they actually interviewed that you thought should have got the job that didn't over Boone? Like, who did you want realistically?
I really had no comment on anyone. Beltran would have been my number one vote just because you really knew how much of a player guy he was. Players he wanted his locker room next to Judge.
Right.
And Judge's rookie, that's what he wanted. He wanted the bilingual thing I think has something to do. I think that's important, bilingual thing. A big knock on Girardi, they said, if you read and found those out, was his inability to communicate, especially, with the Spanish players on the team, the Dominican players, Gary Sanchez probably being the big one of them. Although Gary Sanchez had a very nice thing to say about Girardi when he was canned. So he was canned.
Yeah, he was.
100% canned. So I have no knock on Boone. The good thing about Boone is he's no longer at ESPN broadcast.
Yes.
Because I hated what Boone said.
Yes.
But the thing that does scare me about Boone was the fact that guy, the guy I've been listening to in the ESPN booth for the last 6 years and not liking anything he really says, is now the manager. No, hasn't been in a locker room since 2010. That's what I don't like. But had that being said, the support, I trust Cashman more than anyone else. Cashman's proven me wrong, although Ellsbury's still on the team. Cashman's proven me wrong.
Can't win them all.
Yeah, and Aaron Boone must have had a hell of an interview.
Yeah, he must have.
He really must have had a great interview to beat out. Granted, the candidates weren't, guys you open your eyes up to.
Right.
But who else really was out there anyway? But Aaron Boone must have had a hell of an interview. Or the other negative to that is he must have really sucked up to Cashman.
I think your point about how we should trust Cashman is spot on, because there, like you said, there was no one in this group of 6 that they interviewed that jumped out at me as that's the guy you need. He has this quality that's going to make him a great manager. Listen, this team is going to sink or swim on its players.
That's baseball too.
The manager that comes in, obviously managing matters, but it doesn't really. This team still has Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, Greg Bird, Didi, Starlin. Go down the order. They got all that talent.
We're knocking on wood.
There's really
Ohtani's coming.
There
baby.
really shouldn't be.
Ohtani's coming.
There really shouldn't be a manager that's going to come in and either screw it up or take them to even bigger heights. So I would have stayed with Girardi because I thought that was just the safer way to go. Why mess with it?
91 games.
But
yeah.
Once I knew the 6 names, I didn't care. We'll see. It's really disappointing that we can't have a better conversation about it, but we don't know.
There's nothing to say.
There really isn't.
There's nothing to say. And the only knock, though,
it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be very strange seeing Aaron Boone as the manager of this team.
he's a skinny guy, too. Like, you know what I mean?
Does that bother you?
Kind of, yeah. He doesn't. I don't think he fills a baseball uniform great. He's like a skinny guy. I mean, like, man, he's not like an experienced looking guy who's got like a baseball gut or anything like that. You know what I mean?
That's what you want in your manager?
Yeah, I kind of do want. Girardi was a little like, Jim Rat looked like. Girardi's arms were freaking huge.
Yeah.
He's, an athletic looking guy. Aaron Boone's a skinny little guy. Like, doesn't, kind of has a whiny-ish voice in a way. Like, I mean, I'd love to see Aaron Boone argue with an umpire. That I'll love to see, and I think he'll get mad.
Yeah, oh yeah, he'll get
Because
mad.
I think Aaron Boone, though, is really looking forward to this.
He's a baseball guy.
He's a baseball, loves baseball, went to the booth. I think he's really looking forward to the opportunity, though. And he's a young guy, too, so
He's got something to prove.
Yeah, he's got something to prove, and let's face it, though. I think he really got the job because he's going to listen to Cashman the most.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's who's gonna be Cashman's puppet.
And that's the thing. Again, I trust Cashman. He's proven me wrong with the way he's built this team, and he's been right on his picks. But he's not a manager, though. I mean, he's not every day in the locker room for a 162-game season. He's up in the luxury suites instead.
Yeah.
Granted, GM is arguably the most important job of a baseball team. Probably is.
It is,
Yeah, because you're putting the talent on the field. And the manager has the least to do with the talent in gameplay. But again, he's not in the locker room, though. So what does he know necessarily about, dealing with the... You know what I mean by that, though?
Yeah.
So, like, every one of those guys, it's all about getting into the new sabermetrics, the analytics, whatever. That's part of it, part of what they want a new manager. And I thought Girardi was more than that than anyone with his binder.
I thought so, too. Apparently not.
But apparently not. But all these other guys had experience in locker rooms before. I mean, Beltran's the only one without the managerial experience of those candidates. So they probably still have their own way of doing it. They probably had their own idea, learning from other managers and being in locker rooms and being as coaches all along. So they have their own idea, and they probably expressed that to Cashman, and rightly they should have. That's their pitch, is also how they would handle things in their own light. Aaron Boone probably went in there, though, just saying, I'll deal with it how you want me to deal with it. That's what I really think.
It's
though.
very possible. It's very possible.
So that's the only knock I'll have against it and why I'm indifferent, because I think the only thing was he's just telling Cashman, I'll deal with it how you want it. That's it. I think there's nothing else to it.
That may be. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know whether letting Girardi go was the right or the wrong move because, like I said, this team, it's going to be about the talent. It's not if they don't win over the next 5 years, let's say they don't win a championship or they don't even get as far as Game 7 of the ALCS again, I don't think it's going to be because a new manager came in and screwed it up. I think it's going to be because the young players didn't develop as much as they should, or specifically the young pitchers who are supposed to be coming up like Adams and Sheffield and Acevedo, maybe they didn't develop. That, to me, would be the bigger reason. I don't think we're going to look back and say, hiring Boone was a great decision or hiring Boone was terrible. Maybe, but that's why I can't sit here and celebrate this or be mad about it.
No, the manager means nothing for the season. Because in baseball, I mean, your chemistry with anyone has nothing to do with how you perform on the field. Like in basketball, you need chemistry to really, play a good basketball. In football, you need chemistry, the lines, whatever, anything along that matter. But in baseball, not so much. Anthony, though, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
A handshake.
Pleasure to be back.
No one can see but Robin. But she'll be coming up on the 3 o'clock hour for all those listening. But again, this has been just a wonderful, passionate talk of WCBZ Sports Saturdays ending right now. It may be the last one for myself, Jake DiLorenzo. Anthony Iotti, a Hall of Famer, joined me. Director Iotti, he'll always be Director Iotti in my hearts. Enjoy your day of watching, conference championship college football that we didn't talk about at all.
No, not 1 minute.
Rightfully so. This has been a Newton station that's been all about New York sports, though. Everyone, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and be well.